Welcome everyone to the September 4th, 2012 Shakopee City Council, and you can all hear me now, meeting. Kim, could you please take the roll call?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Sherman?
Here.
Councilor Lehman?
Here.
Councilor Clay?
Here.
Councilor Whiting?
Here.
Mayor Tapke?
Here. We all stand for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 3, approval of the agenda. Do we have any additions or corrections to the agenda this evening?
Staff has none, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone from council? Councilor Clay?
Move the agenda.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilor Sherman. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 4, consent business. Anything to remove or add from the consent agenda this evening? Councilor Lehman?
Is there anybody in the audience that's here for something that's on the consent agenda?
I do not believe so.
Okay.
Councilor Whiting?
I'll move the consent agenda as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Councilor Clay? Mr. McNeil, would you please read the consent?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 4A1 adopts resolution number 7230, accepting a donation of $1,000 from the Shakopee JCs for use by the police department. 4A2 approves 3 forfeited vehicles held by the police department to be declared as surplus property and authorizes proper disposal. 4A3 adopts resolution 7231, approving a renewal of the joint powers agreement with the Minnesota Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force and BCA. 4B1 approves an extension of the approval period of the preliminary and final plat for Crystal Estates to September 4th, 2014. 4B2 adopts resolution number 7224, amending the comprehensive land use plan to re-guide property from business park to commercial for an 11-acre parcel of land located east of County Road 83, north of 169, and south of 12th Avenue, and also passes ordinance number 858, rezoning the same property from business park to highway business. 4C1 adopts resolution number 7225, orders a preliminary engineering report, executes an agreement with ITCO Allied Engineering Company to perform soil borings, and authorizes execution of an agreement with WSB and Associates to perform engineering services, all for the 2013 street reconstruction project. 4C2 approves a repurchase agreement with Ag Powers Enterprises for a John Deere tractor in the amount of $4,723.88. 4C3 approves a change order with Kruger Engineering for their contract for an amount up to $20,000 to add a maintenance trail connection from Ramsey Street to the Upper Valley Drainage Way Trail. 4D1 accepts with regret a letter of resignation and adopts resolution number 7229, a resolution of appreciation from Marty Glenn in recognition of his retirement after 29 years of service from the Shakopee Fire Department effective September 30th, 2012. 4D2 authorizes appropriate city officials to enter into a rate verification and service agreement in the amount of $21,000 with Financial Concepts, Inc. for the calendar year 2012. 4F1 approves payments of bills and electronic transfers in the amount of $1,077,260.56. 4F2 approves the minutes of the City Council meetings of August 13th, August 20th, and August 21st, 2012. And finally, 4F3 adopts Resolution 7232, accepting the work of McPhillips Brothers Roofing on the warranty replacement, of the community center roof, and authorizes final payment.
All right, any discussion on those items? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Item number 5, recognition of involved citizens by City Council. I know there are a couple folks out there tonight who would like to chat. You guys want to start? Come on up and please state your name and address, and please write it on the sheet up there.
Jesus Camauta.
Okay.
Hello, good evening. Jesus Camauta, the owner of Camauta Simpor, right here in First Avenue. First, I want to say thanks for the many opportunities you guys gave me for remove the tanks. I know I failed that times, but The reason I'm here today, last time they guys revoked my license because the tanks, they haven't been removed. But I got a situation, family situation back home. I can say one more time here, my wife was sent back to the country and I tried to get him back, and there was a little, something new for me. Tried to bring him back home. And I got 3 kids, and it was really hard for us. So the last time I got meeting here, there was a plan to rent in my property for a used car dealership and another bay for selling used tires. And they didn't go that well. The company that was renting there, they filled the contract, they gave me a bad check, and they moved over a weekend. I was out of the country. And the other tire shop, they started getting tires outside the building. He sent thing. He didn't pay rent. He moved away. They say the business in Shakopee is going down, and he couldn't sell nothing and just moved. And so I'm here very much to see if you guys can help me to give me one more chance to remove the tanks. We don't talk about another year or 6 months. We're talking about 30 days or a month. I got a construction company right here. They want to remove the tanks. And I talk to usually with them, with my bank, and say, you know what, I got my license canceled. I got too many situations. Give me a chance until I remove the tanks because I'm not working right now. And they say that they don't thinking to repossess the building because there's 7 places available in First Avenue. They got restaurants. They got the they got restaurant. They got the car seat, used car lot. They got the car wash, the old gas station right here and right in First Avenue too. They got lands available, restaurants. So they told me that they're not interested, honestly, to repossess. They want to work with me, and they say that we can help us to the bank to remove the tanks too, but keep the property. You see, if the city give you the time and the opportunity to remove the tanks. So I just want to ask you, give me one more chance. I'm ready to remove the tanks, but I need my license because last time I got an email telling me that even if I remove the tanks, they don't want me to give my license for a used car dealership anymore. And when I bought the place, the city remember how was the gas station right in the corner. It was on the floor, so I had to redo the whole building to be able to move on it. And it's built as a mechanic. You got a bay, an office, very much that building is a used car dealership and a mechanic, so it's not able to be, it can sell it or rent it for something else. And not in that situation right now, in many buildings available. So are you guys reconsidering to give me my license back on it, and I can remove the tanks, and at least I can start working myself. And I'm planning to get a job at night if it's possible to make the mortgage payment and make the company to remove the tanks. Right now, I don't want to lose the property. And my license is from 2004, so I don't know, you guys.
What options have we got?
Well, Mr. Kamada, other than a building permit, there's no requirement that you don't need the city's permission to remove the tank. So if you're sincere about that, I would suggest that might be the first thing to do. At that point, then you could reapproach the city and see if the CUP is something that you'd want to consider at that point.
Right. Because I believe the biggest issue is the tanks. So if you can
Yeah, the
get those
big
out of
issue
there.
is the tanks, but the last email I got, even if I remove the tanks, they don't want me to keep my license and my using the building as a mechanic or license anymore. Last time I talked to, they say that they want to email me what can, the business they can open there and say, man, when I bought that place, I spent $75,000 with a down payment and plus remodeling the whole thing to be built as a car dealership and mechanic. Now you tell me that they can, even if I remove the tank, they have to sell it for a restaurant. Who's gonna buy that right now for a restaurant?
Okay.
And they have to turn down the whole building very much.
Is that an accurate depiction of our position as staff, or we just need to talk about this? Mr. Leek?
Members of the council, the position of the city, not just the staff, is that the Board of Adjustment, after nearly 2 years of trying to get compliance with the conditions of the CUP, including removing the tanks, revoked the conditional use permit. You had an appeal. You upheld the board's position. So the conditional use permit for motor vehicle sales at this point has been revoked. I think what Mr. McNeil was suggesting was that a potential show of good faith because of the difficulty in getting the tanks removed and the extent to which it was extended in the past, would be to remove them and approach the city about making application for new CUP. There is no limitation in the city zoning code for how long you have to wait to make another application for CUP.
Perfect. All right, so does that make sense?
Yeah.
You get the tanks out, and then we can talk.
But my issues here, if I remove the tanks and you guys, my license right now is revoked. So dealer unit called me and said, as soon as you straight out with the city, we give you a license back. So I couldn't sell cars to the auction. I got like a 4 car sitting in the auction. I can sell it. My dealer license is in whole. So I'm with my high time. So I tried to sell, call friends. They got another dealer to see if they can help me to resell the car. They say, no, we can't because your dealer, they can't even sell nothing right now. So they had to get a letter from the city saying like, okay, we're gonna give you time to remove the tank. Very much to give the dealer unit know, like you guys okay to give me time to remove the tanks, and they can leave my license open, and I can start moving, selling car in the meantime and doing something, you know, buying here, selling there, use my license.
Mr. Clay.
No, I think the answer to your question is no. The tanks should have been out of the ground over 2 years ago, and we've been giving you with 5 or 6 or 7 extensions over the past 2 years. Each time you promised you would get those tanks removed, and each time you did not do it. Why? I mean, if history is our guide, why should I believe that you're going to remove the tanks if we
Believe
let
me.
you continue?
2 years ago, we didn't have 7 buildings for sale. And 2 years ago, when I bought the place, I thought I can make money if I can buy it, remodeling, and sell it. Right now, I pay $245 for the building, and nobody can buy the building for it. The last offer I got is $200,000, and I spent $75,000 on the building. And they told me it's too many choice. So
Well, we
when I
don't,
tell you
sir.
this, the economic right now is so bad right now. It's like, and the sale went down. Many people, you know, and I get to rent it out. I got people, they want to go for a different business. But car business in Chacopee, I don't know what's happening, but it's going so down right now.
We don't take, in this open time for talking, we don't take action on
Okay.
things. We just
Alright.
discuss things and figure out what we can
Okay,
do.
I got you.
So we'll need to have this, you'll need to put together a plan of action as to what you're gonna do.
Okay.
And if you get those tanks out, we can definitely talk, from there. But for right now, we're not gonna take any action as a city council during this time because we don't have anything on the agenda to discuss or have anything, there. So we've got, so at this point, we're not gonna take any action on what you're asking us to do, but we definitely want to see you successful and want to see you working and in business as long as those things in the
Thanks,
CUP are
Ramon.
taken care of. From here, why don't you put together a plan of action, speak with staff as to what the process is for getting the tanks out and then resubmitting for CUP, and we can take it from there.
All right.
All right.
Thanks
Thank
a
you
lot
for being here,
your
sir.
time. All right. Thanks. Have a good night.
Who else? You're on.
Good evening. My name is Andrew Jansen, and I am a resident at 1155 Minky Circle. I'm here tonight in front of you to propose a resolution that the City Council of Shakopee and the city itself oppose the marriage amendment that is about to come into the election cycle here. My hope is that this can get the ball rolling and that you guys can join the 13 other cities and be a welcoming city and support the citizens that are here and to basically just be a welcoming city to all the tourists that come here as well. I think that this is a hurtful amendment. It tears apart families. It makes basically a second class of citizenship throughout the state, and I don't think that it should be. I don't think that there should be a change to the Constitution to add in discrimination. So,
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Any comments? Councilor Whiting?
Andrew, I've known you since you're a young kid, and I'm very proud of you standing up there and being strong and coming forward like this. What do you think
Why do you think the city would help this amendment?
I think it's a symbolic action that'll show that the city takes a stand against discrimination and takes a stand for its citizens, all of them, no matter who they are. They are your constituents, every single one of them, and I think that that's all their families and their friends deserve to feel appreciated and as equal citizens.
Any other questions? Councilor Lehman?
You say 13 cities support what you're doing?
Correct. So far, this year, cities from Duluth to Mankato, Roseville, Mount Iron up in the north, along the North Shore there, Maplewood, Crystal, Edina, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Robbinsdale, and there's Falcon Heights have all supported, have passed resolutions.
Do you have a list of those that oppose what you're doing?
What's that?
Do you have a list of those that oppose what you're doing?
I don't. As far as I know at the moment, there aren't any.
Yes, I think we can definitely get this on future agenda item to have discussed. Do you have a proposed resolution or anything like that?
I don't have any language at the moment.
Okay.
But I would,
Why don't you get that
okay.
and speak with Mr. McNeil and get it on one of our next couple of meetings?
Wonderful. So,
Thank you.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, Councilor Lehman.
You know, this is kind of awkward because you're going to force a mix of church and state. Because now you're going to force a question to be asked of what individuals' religious beliefs are in a political setting.
nobody's forcing through this anybody's church to marry anybody. So every delegation will have the right to choose its own.
Well, what if a religion, a certain religion is against sodomy and another religion supports it? By this action, you're forcing a religious decision based on a political
I think
motive.
you're looking at the amendment wrong.
Okay.
The amendment is to make it so it's between a man and a woman. It's not allowing gay marriage. That's still illegal.
Mm-hmm.
It's just shutting it down forever and always. So the conversation is cut off completely. So, to me,
Conversation's only shut off on the term marriage. If it was a civil union, that conversation wouldn't be shut
I
off.
think we should move ahead and have this discussion, but do you want a motion for a draft resolution? Or?
Would you rather? I don't think we need a motion. We can just bring it up at the next meeting. Or what
There's a
would you-
consensus of council to bring it forward, we
Okay.
can do that.
Motion be good. Councilor Whiting?
I'll make a motion to direct staff to draft a resolution opposing the marriage amendment.
Do we have a second for that? Second by Councilor Clay. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed?
Aye.
It passes 3-2.
Put that on the meeting in 2 weeks.
All right.
Very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Anyone else for this open discussion time? All right. Moving on to item number 8. Entertain a motion to recess for Economic Development Authority.
So moved.
Councilor Sherman, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Whiting. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We are in recess for Economic Development Authority. President Clay.
Thank you. We'll call to order this Economic Development Authority meeting for September 4th, 2012. If you would please make note of the roll for us.
Yes,
Appreciate
Mr.
it.
President.
There are no minutes or treasurer's reports to approve. We have one item on the agenda being approval of the 2013 Economic Development Authority's EDA preliminary budget for the city of Shakopee, and I'm guessing Julie is going to present for us.
Approve the agenda or not?
Oh, we gotta do that. Let's- Motion to approve the agenda, Mr. Lehman, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Whiting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Now, item 3.
Okay. Which is the one you press here? I want to use the overhead. Which one is it? Never mind. It came to life.
Yep.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Good evening, EDA and members of the council and viewing audience and audience at present. Tonight before you is the culmination of a number of council meetings and work sessions in which we've discussed the 2013 EDA levy and the EDA budget. Just to back up and give you a little history, there's been a variety of mechanisms used in the city of Shakopee to fund the EDA. There has been levies, there has been transfers, there has been use of different statute. During the last couple of weeks, we've been working with the staff with Kennedy and Graven to confirm what is the most appropriate way to fund the EDA. There are two state statutes, 469091, which allows the EDA to have a levy. There's also a 469033, which allows an EDA who has HRA authority to have a levy, okay? At this point, after much discussion with Kennedy and Graven, it appears that based on the transition when the city council became the EDA, it did not transfer over HRA authorities. Those didn't come along. What we are showing in this year's budget reflects what we are stating we feel is the most appropriate way to fund the EDA. And that is, the EDA is actually shown as a part of the general fund levy, and the general fund then transfers funds over to the EDA. It's a fairly simple approach. When we've spoken with Kennedy and Graven staff, this appears to be the most consistent and accurate way for an EDA to receive funding. So what you see before you this evening is the preliminary 2013 EDA budget, which shows a revenue amount of approximately $5,000, which is basic interest. We are looking at three primary components of this year's EDA budget that's somewhat different than prior years. The first item is under wages and benefits, which includes a recently approved economic development specialist, which was discussed at the August 28th City Council work session. This position is placed in here in the 2013 preliminary budget. The second primary item is the $150,000, which has been put aside for the facade program through the EDA. That has changed from the prior year's downtown facade loan program, that this is encompassing a larger area of Shakopee. The third and final levy is the $80,000 that has traditionally been brought into the ADA for the operations, whether it would be for professional services, whether it's for architectural work, whether it's for any other projects that the EDA wishes to proceed with. And that is before you the primary components of the 2013 preliminary EDA budget. Again, like other budgets within the city, this is preliminary. It does not come to final format until December 4th, where it will be brought for you for final approval. The levy cannot be increased because there is no levy in this year's budget. It's part of the general fund levy. But the budget is before you for approval to pass on to the city council later this evening. Are there any questions?
Questions for staff, Mr. Lehman?
In the past, for the last 11 years, there was two levies that the city levied.
Mm-hmm.
The HRA 033 and the 469107
Right.
EDA.
Right, right.
The facade program, I believe, was under the 107,
The which program?
the facade program.
The facade. Actually, it was all transferred from and into part of the original general fund levy. What happened is when the funds came in from Scott County, it was a part of the general fund levy, and then it was just transferred over to the EDA.
Okay, so why are we not,
Why are you not doing a separate levy?
right,
Because you really, at this point, after discussions with Kennedy and Graven, it is more appropriate to blend this in under 469091, which rolls it into the general fund levy.
So you're saying that in prior years, we weren't fully in conformity with proper accounting
I don't think it
standards,
was.
or?
I don't think it was in conformity. I think there's just different avenues that when you work with an EDA and you had originally at one point had an HRA, there's just different avenues. But I wanted to confirm this year as we move forward, and I worked with Julie Eddington, and she and I had several conversations on this. we feel this is the most appropriate and most consistent use of how to fund the EDA. It's part of the general fund levy. It is not a standalone levy because you do not have HRA authorities.
And it's just as transparent?
It's actually more transparent
Okay.
because this is how you can show it more clearly as part of your EDA levy, which is a standalone fund.
I have another question.
Sure, Mr. Lehman.
Why would we not fund the EDA person under the EDA 107 law? Which it does allow, which I just read it before I got here.
Right. At this point, I am moving forward based on what the advice of Kennedy and Graven was. They said, place this under a portion of the general fund levy and just bring it through like that.
All right, I guess I have one last question, Chair.
Go ahead.
My question would be to Kennedy and Graven, why after 15 years did they change their mind?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'm not sure we changed our mind. I think what happened was Julie, in going through the finances, discovered that that's how it was done in the past. She asked for advice. This is what we believe is the simplest way to do it. And actually, it is the most transparent because you're adopting it as a general fund levy that you're going to be then transferring to the EDA, so it's out there. And the one, if you want, glitch was that apparently when the EDA was created, it didn't transfer the HRA authority to the EDA, and that's what impacted the .107. So it's just cleaner and more precise to do it this way.
The 107 requires a public hearing with 2 weeks advance notice, where this process does not.
Well, Mr. Chair, sorry, and members of the council, there is it's not technically called the Truth in Taxation anymore, but there is a public
Right.
meeting at which your budget and levy will be discussed on December 4th, so, and this will be part of it. So there is a requirement of public notice and opportunity to appear on any aspect of the levy, including this one. So I don't think the notice that was in the HRA statute affects anything, because you still have to have a notice and hearing.
I have one last question.
One last one. Then we're gonna go to Mr. Tabke.
The restrictions placed on utilizing 033 and 107, do them same restrictions apply by putting it in a general fund and then shifting it over to the EDA?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure I understand that question.
What the funds are
But
used
the EDA
for?
funds can only be used, once they're transferred into the
Mhm.
EDA, they can only be used for EDA purposes.
Correct. They cannot be pulled out and used for some service in public safety or public works. They have to stay defined in an EDA capacity.
Okay.
Then if there's underspend at the end of 2013, that money still stays in the EDA?
Fund. It's a standalone fund that maintains its own fund balance.
Okay.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Mr. Whiting?
I'll make a motion to approve the preliminary 2013 EDA budget. The final budget will be presented to the council at the December 4th, 2012 City Council meeting.
Motion by Mr. Whiting, seconded by Mr. Tabke. Discussion. Discussion, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion passes with Commissioner Sherman and Lehman in dissent. Any other business to bring before us, other than what's, our next item would be adjournment? Mr. Lehman,
Motion to adjourn.
moved to adjourn, seconded by Ms. Sherman. I saw her wiggle her finger. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
Thank you, Mr. President. We reconvene at 7:30 for the Shakopee City Council meeting. Moving on to item number 10A. Mr. McNeil.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is in regards to the organics recycling facility, which is operated by the Shakopee Metawankaton Sioux community. It's located between Highway 83 and McKenna Road and bordered on the north by County Road 16. Site opened about a year ago. Shortly after it opened, there were some calls that were received by either elected officials or here at City Hall from some of the neighbors in the area about problem odors. After the winter freeze up and the weather warmed again this spring, there were calls that started in on that again. I know that there are some neighbors here tonight that want to address you on the subject. There are also representatives from the Shakopee, Minnewacan, and Sioux community who are either with the facility or with the Land and Management Office who may be able to address what they've done in terms of responding to those calls. I would note that this is on the former 593-acre MWCC property. It is in trust as such. There are some limits as far as what the city can do, as it is, again, not under the control or purview of the city of Shakopee. Do you have any general questions of me?
Can you, this might be a question for Mr. Thompson as well, but what power does the city have to do
Anything at all.
anything if we wanted to?
I'll defer to the attorney.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, when land is held in trust, what that means is that the federal government owns it. So the ownership of this property is the federal government. It's held in trust for the tribe. That very much limits what the city can do. You'd have to make some claim against the federal government in federal court for improper use of their property, and it's very, very, very limited what the city can do.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, let's start this out. Residents, we have a fair number of residents here from the area. Is there a single person who would like to kind of frame the discussion from the residents' point of view this evening? I'd like to have one person come up and let us know what's going on from your perspective. And anyone who wants to speak can have a chance to speak if you've got something new to say eventually, but let's just start the discussion off this way.
I'll stand up.
There you go. Name and address on the sheet, please, and also out loud.
My name's Jeff Schwieger. I've been a resident of that area for about 22 years now. I've seen a lot of changes happen around the city. Let me sign in first. Well, anyway, we realize that you have very limited powers over a sovereign nation. And I don't know if you realize by where most of the calls and the complaints are coming from are in the Montecito Heights neighborhood across 16. We are northeast of the compost pile, so we get the southwesterly breezes all summer long. Our property values has pretty much been wrecked by the smell, and there are no open window nights in the summer or anything like that. But as a sovereign nation, like you said, your hands are kind of tied. However, as community leaders and as representatives of the community, we are looking to you to see what our next step is. Are our hands tied too? Are we prone to live with this? We have, the whole neighborhood has an increase in allergies, infections. Even our dogs and animals have infections around there. All the water from the place flows north towards the river. That goes right past our house, right underneath our whole neighborhood. They say that they're controlling it. They've told us that since last year, and they haven't done it yet. They say their pools are lined and they won't leak, you know, the Titanic won't sink. We don't know what to believe, we don't know what to do, we're at kind of a loss. You tell us, what can you do for us? And I guess maybe that's where the conversation starts here.
Any questions for Mr. Schweiger? All right, thank you, sir. We'll hear from representatives from the Sioux community. Who's up?
Mr. Mayor, council members, my name is Stanley Ellison. I'm the Director of Land and Natural Resources for the Shakopee Bidwacantah Dakota community. We have a PowerPoint. We're going to present some information first because it seems that without information, it's very easy to just talk about what people think. And the PowerPoint is going to be presented primarily by Michael Witt, the Manager of Natural Resources, and Cara Gronis, our industrial hygienist. Michael's going to take you through the process of how the facility works and what it does. Cara is going to talk about our odor monitoring process. And at the end, I'm going to have a little bit of discussion about what the future holds for the site and exactly what's going on there. So as soon as someone can tell me how to turn on my PowerPoint. Yeah, it's loaded on the screen. All we need to do is get you. Okay.
There you go.
Where's it at, Mike?
Right there.
There. Oh.
Click on the bottom there, Stan. Right there.
Okay. Slideshow. You ready, Mike? Yes. As soon as I get the slideshow turned on, which I can. Okay.
Mayor and councilpersons, thanks for having us this evening. Again, my name is Michael Witt. I've been with the tribe for about 14 years now. So I just wanted to give some basic information about what composting is, which is what we're doing over there. It's a biological process, and it's carried out by microorganisms. The microorganisms are doing all the work, and they're converting organic materials into a soil-like material called compost. In commercial scale composting, those microorganisms are causing temperatures to increase just by their metabolism. Temperatures routinely range in the 131 to 165 degree range for weeks at a time, and this process kills pathogens and weed seeds. It takes about 12 weeks. Some of the environmental benefits of composting. Composting reduces and less greenhouse gas emissions. A reduction of volume of the material by at least half. So in other words, 1 ton of tip material results in about a half ton of or less of finished compost. Again, pathogen and weed seeds are eliminated because of that, those relatively high temperatures for long periods of time. And it produces compost, which is a valuable soil amendment. Just a diagram of the composting process. On the left there is your compost pile, your inputs. You have oxygen coming in. You have raw materials, which is the organic matter, which is a mix of carbon. For instance, wood would be carbon, nitrogen, pickles, cucumbers would be a nitrogen source, water and the microorganisms, and then coming out of the process is organic material. And again, I want to stress that those internal temperatures are 131 to 165 degrees for many weeks at a time. And that regarding greenhouse effects, when materials decompose anaerobically without oxygen, this is an aerobic process with oxygen. Methane is a microorganisms are still breaking down the material, but instead of emitting carbon dioxide, they're emitting methane. And methane is 23 times more powerful as a greenhouse gas than is carbon dioxide. Again, compost is a soil conditioner. It adds organic matter, it improves soil structure, reduces the need for synthetic fertilizers, adds water holding capacity, and reduces potential soil erosion. The feedstocks that we're taking in, the materials that get tipped at the organics recycling facility, SMSC generated yard debris from enterprises, departments, and community members, municipal yard debris, including yard debris from the city of Shakopee, yard debris from approximately 6 hauling companies, Pretty much all haulers these days offer a yard waste collection in addition to a recycling collection and a garbage collection. Source separated organics from a company called, one of those sources is a company called Sanamax that hauls all the Walmarts, in fact, in the entire region, from Iowa to North Dakota to northern Minnesota. Cucumbers and peppers from Gidney Pickle in Chaska. Potato residuals from North Star Potato in Chaska. Class A biosolids from the Shakopee Midwauketon Sioux Communities Water Reclamation Facility. We have our own, we treat our own wastewater there. Agricultural residuals from manure, including manure from Canterbury Racetrack, and unusable hay and straw from agricultural activities, and residential and commercial debris, including that from recent windstorms. Composting in Minnesota, one point of fact is actually yard debris have been banned from landfilling for approximately 30 years now. So all yard debris has to be composted, or burned, I guess. The Minnesota Pollution Control Agency is currently in rulemaking to establish a set of criteria to guide the operation and construction of source-separated organics recycling facilities such as ours. That's a link to the rules, but if you just Googled it, it would definitely come up. There are currently 4 facilities in Minnesota. All but one are owned by governments, and I include ours as being owned by a government. The city administrator showed a slide of where we're located. This is a little bit larger scale. Our entrance is exactly 1 mile from the southbound from 169, in the middle, essentially, of that 593-acre parcel that was referenced earlier. Our annual capacity at the site, this is a map of our site. It doesn't show very clearly, but about 50,000 tons a year of source-separated organics and about 150,000 tons per year of yard wastes, for a total of 200,000 tons per year. The site itself is a 45-acre site, 25 acres of which is inside approximately 4,500 lineal feet of fencing. The closest residence is 1,700 feet from the site. The windrows are turned approximately once per week. Federal requirements specify a process to further reduce pathogens, which actually requires that your piles maintain a temperature of at least 131 degrees for 15 consecutive days. All of our windrow and tipping area is all paved, so it's all impervious surface. Some of the community benefits. Northwest Asphalt, a Shakopee company, received a multi-million-dollar project for all site construction and paving. We offer free tipping to the cities of Savage, Shakopee, and Prior Lake. In total, the 3 cities over a 4-month period from April to July tipped 593 tons. A ton is 2,000 pounds of material. And this would have cost tens of thousands of dollars, which of course would have come out of public works budgets and other revenues from the city. The site also offers a local alternative for Southwest Metro residents at affordable prices. And you can get an idea. So in April, we had 516 transactions with a weight of 4,600 tons. But look at the May. In May, we had 1,385 with a weight of 1,856. So you can see there were a lot more customers in May, so a lot smaller loads. So we had a lot of customers. A lot of those customers are actually residential people bringing in a few bags of yard waste material. We offer a minimum charge. Essentially, it's a scale fee, which at that time was $3. So $3 for pretty much anything that's going to fit in, a normal-sized pickup truck is extremely reasonable. Dick's Sanitation is actually our largest customer. And all of their yard waste routes from this area, including Shakopee, it should be noted, I think everyone should know this, that Dick Sanitation actually hauls all residences. You're a single hauler in Shakopee. It's all tipped at the Orf. Dick's also hauls horse bedding from Canterbury, so we get all that material as well. We have approximately 10 staff people that ranging in age from early 20s to early 70s. They work approximately 250 hours a week. 2 of those workers live in Shakopee. 1 soon-to-be full-time worker lives in Prior Lake. I should say, although the rules are in draft, I actually have commented and attended all the stakeholder meetings for the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency rules. This site will meet all rules as they sit now. The site is more than 3 times the required distance from neighbors. The distance in the rules right now is 500 feet. The site has all-weather roads and tipping area. It's important. If you run a compost site, you have to have access to your material 365 days a year. The site is graded to drain northeast and has 0 runoff. We do have lined ponds. The first 2 ponds are lined, and then we have tertiary treatment beyond that, which are actually infiltration basins. We measure our temperatures daily, and those are recorded in a computer database. And again, our tipping is on an impervious surface. All of these are components, or will be components, of the future Minnesota law. As far as nuisance mitigation goes, you know, we've made a lot of changes to the site. Our initial area that we looked at was actually right at the corner of McKenna and 16, immediately across the street from some of the people that live off Montecito. And this was rejected, obviously, because of its proximity to neighbors. We also had some discussions with City of Shakopee staff who liked an access off Canterbury Road, which we implemented. But that did require a quarter-mile long driveway, which cost several $100,000 to grade and now pave. We did run public notices in all 3 municipal newspapers, including Shakopee Valley News. It ran for 3 consecutive weeks. We received 1 comment. We've planted a bunch of trees. I'm getting messages from Mayor Tapke to speed it up. So we altered some stormwater management ponding to reduce odors. We no longer manipulate our piles on Fridays so that the weekends can be as odor-free as possible. And we paved an additional 8 acres inside the facility. Here's where Cara steps in.
Hi, I know that you're in a hurry, so I'll go as quick as I can. So we have a piece of equipment, it's called a nasal ranger. Basically, it takes in what we would consider
All right,
maybe...
could you say who you are first so everybody knows?
Yeah, I'm sorry. My name's Cara Groans. I'm the industrial hygienist for the tribe. So the nasal ranger pulls in what we would consider odor air, I guess, with carbon filtered air. And it pulls in the carbon filtered air at known dilution. So this is a way of us giving a number to the intensity of the odor. So I did quite a bit of research on nuisance odor ordinances throughout the country. And basically most of the cities and states around the country either use a 7 or 2 4s for what they would consider a nuisance odor. A 4 is actually a lower odor than a 7. The equipment ranges from 0 to 60. When I worked for the city of Minneapolis, if we got an odor at 7, we would consider that a nuisance, and the company would need to look into what they were going to do about their odor. So the community, we do have a ordinance currently in use that prohibits nuisance odors, and the policy that we're using right now is if we get 2 readings of 4 using the nasal ranger, that's considered a violation, or if we get 1 reading of 7, that's considered a violation. So we are sort of doing our own enforcement on our own facility. This is just a map showing some of the odor values that we've gotten We have 13 odor monitoring stations around the facility. This just shows the 4 that are on the north side. I know it's hard to read them, but the one that's all the way on the west, the highest value that we've ever gotten there was a 4, and all the rest of them, the highest value that we've ever gotten is a 1.
That says 9, doesn't it?
What's the 9 and 12 on the screen?
Those are numbers of complaints. Yep, yeah, there is.
All right, let's keep discussion that back there. Hold on.
And this is a map showing the distance in feet to the nearest proximity stations to the north. So a few facts about nuisance odors. 10 years ago, we installed an anemometer that's immediately adjacent to the ORF, and that collects both wind speed and wind direction. And then this data we used in order to decide where to put the wind turbine on the reservation. And basically, that information shows that the wind does not always blow from one direction. Mike, I'm gonna let you do this one.
Okay, these are wind roses that were produced by one of our, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. They were produced by Ole Olmanson, our hydrologist. They're based on 10 years worth of anemometer data. And you can see that this is the summer wind rose here. The black line is actually wind speed. Actually, it's percentage of wind energy, but it directly relates to velocity. The little gray areas are the percentage of time that the wind is blowing from that direction. The outside circle right here is to be scaled, and this particular one is 50% of the time. So for the wind to blow 50% of the time from this direction, that would have to be all the way out here. So you can see those are somewhere in the range of about 5 to 8% of the time. So total in the summertime, based on a year's data, the wind is blowing from the southwest about 15% of the time. Okay, in the wintertime, it blows much more from the west and the northwest and a little bit from the east. Usually it's snowing fairly hard when it's doing that. And spring and fall are pretty reasonable. They're just during a switchover period. So as you can see in the spring, it just becomes almost a circle. But we do have 10 years of data. This is from 2011. And what's going on in the future? Odor management is a long-term process, and we've done a lot of things to change what we're doing. Among them, the lined pond water is being recycled back onto the facility, so we don't have anaerobic conditions developing in the ponds, which was a source of odor that was a surprise to us. We're getting a NOAA-certified weather station installed. That allows us to determine when we should turn based on the ambient wind temperatures, humidity, and so we can minimize odors traveling off of the site. We are going to have an open house on October 15th, the week of October 15th, presumably, unless the weather prevents it. Right now we're putting solar panels in, and the construction that's underway on the site is for a Coda Energy fuel processing facility, which is actually going to grind wood and then transport it down to the Coda facility to be used for fuel. As a partner in Coda Energy, the tribe and RAR Malting have procured a source of wood from the Minneapolis Park Board system, but we need to have a place where we can grind it, store it, and then move it out to the site, because there's not room down at the RAR and Coda site to store the large amounts of wood that we need to. And so there'll be a large building out there and a grinder and a dryer, and that's coming up in the future. And I can show you a drawing of that if anybody cares. So that's the information we have. If there's any questions from council members.
Councilor Lehman.
I have a couple questions, actually. The first one is, of all these odors that these residents are smelling, how do we know if any of them are harmful?
The scientific data indicates that any kind of a facility like this, there's little or no harmful material that leaves the site. There's no bacteria. At 140 degrees for 15 days, there's no bacteria that can live. They're dead, they're gone. It kills the weed seeds. The compost is actually sterile. So bacteria can't leave the site. The odor, if whatever odor there is an odor. It's not something that causes illness. As Mike pointed out, we have 240 hours a week of staff people working on this facility, right on the facility, ranging in age from their early 20s to over 70 years old, and we haven't had a single sick day. Most data indicates that, well, all the research data we can find indicates that nothing leaves this, that disease-causing materials do not leave compost sites.
Is there any testing equipment that verifies that?
Not that we use. There is published test data on other facilities that verify that, yes.
Okay. Next question.
Mm-hmm.
The summer wind directions where it showed, is it coming out of the west,
Yeah, that's the
southwest?
from direction, Councilman.
So it's basically pushing it toward the residents during
Yeah,
the summer months.
About 15% of the time.
Okay, and then the other three seasons, it's either circular on site or going a different direction.
Or it's blowing towards our community members.
Okay. Then I guess my last question would be, what solutions would you have for the residents in the audience?
We can't make the site odor-free, council member. That's impossible. We've minimized the odors, and the amount of odors are significantly decreased. The real issue is what people consider an objectionable odor. And it needs to be stated, I believe, that prior to this site going here, this was an agricultural use site, which was regularly spread with large amounts of manure. Until we installed the prairie a few years ago, there were very large dust issues, which typically, in a year like this, when it's so dry, you would see lots of dust. So, you know, and it was, before it went into trust, it was zoned agricultural by the city of Shakopee. And a yard waste composting site is legal in the ag zone. So it's a use that could have been put in place under Shakopee's ordinances. And as far as some of the complaints, I mean, the stormwater one, the stormwater treatment consists of multiple lined ponds. And we actually pump the water out of those ponds back onto the facility and reuse it. The system is designed to exceed all requirements of the Clean Water Act. The tribe is subject to the Clean Water Act. It's a federal regulation. We're not running around unregulated out here. It also exceeds all requirements of the Minnesota stormwater rules, which are based on the Clean Water Act. So we're complying with all the federal regulations. We have an NPDES permit for it. We have a permit to, Section 503 permit to compost under federal regulations. And unlike most cities in the state, the tribe actually has a nuisance odor ordinance, which we have to comply with. And we have not violated that ordinance on our, so it's,
And just one last one is there certain products that are dumped on the site or whatever that cause worse stinks than the other?
yeah, it depends on the material. I mean, there's, and I think Mayor Tabke experienced this one, that there's we call it potato dirt. It's the washings off of the potatoes, so it's basically soil. And that needs to be admixed immediately when it's dumped with other material because it has a sour odor. The biosolids have an odor, so what we've done with those is they only come in, and they're Class A biosolids. They're sterile. They've been heated to well over 215 degrees and held at that temperature for several hours. Essentially, they're like mill organite. We could sell them as fertilizer if we wanted to. Those only come in on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and they're immediately incorporated, and then the piles are covered with with finished compost as a biofilter, and then they're not turned again until they're up to temperature the next week. That reduces, by the next Tuesday or Wednesday when they're turned, that odor is mostly gone. A lot of the other materials that come in, excuse me, they have an odor, but it's not a malodor for a large part. It smells a lot like silage. That kind of organic breakdown product. That's what's going on. And same thing that happens in a silage pile, actually.
Ms. McNeil and I went out
We could go Friday.
a week ago and met with Mr. Witt and Mr. Ellison out on site and did a tour of the site, and that's when we smelled. I've been notified by residents multiple times and gone out a couple times when it is to smell for myself if it was just a little bit of smell, but it was really bad a couple times when I was out there. And it was fleeting. It would go for like a quarter mile and be really bad and then be nothing after that. So it would go and come and go just as quickly. So what we decided when we were out a week ago was that I spoke to some of the residents as to when it is really bad again, which both the times I've been out there have been on humid, more calm evenings where it's just kind of hanging in the air. And has smelled what I would deem much more than a 1 at that point, and would like to know what on that scale it actually is. So they've agreed to next time we have it, when it's really bad, and want to find out exactly what that smell equates to numerically, to find out what we can do about it, to meet out there and test it to see where we're at. Because I have to believe it's been more than a 1 out there. Multiple times, at least when I'm out there. I grew up on a hog farm, and it smelled bad to me. So I think that's something we need to look at. So that's one thing that we're going to do, is to get a quantifiable number as to what that really bad smell is. And I appreciate you agreeing to do that. And then we're also going to have open house so more people can learn as to what it is, because what they're doing out there, I think, is a really good thing. And the intent is very good. It's just making sure everybody can work together and get it figured out. Council members that have questions for the facility? That's Whiting.
Do you have a portable nasal ranger that could possibly be put in different sites?
It's right there.
It's right there. It's actually a handheld. Don't put it up here.
We carry it to all the sites.
Okay.
And Mike lives near here, so it's available. He can stop and pick it up at the office. So if he gets a call from the mayor or needs to go, he'll just pick it up at the office, go to the site, take the measurements.
Mr. Mayor, if I can continue, is this something that you could go to a complainant's house and measure it, and so?
We've done that multiple times.
Okay. Has anybody in the audience had that out at their house? You remember the number?
I wasn't told this at the time.
Oh, okay.
You see a little piece of machine about that big, it's yellow, you never see that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I like to see that picture, that building that's gonna be the wood chipper. How loud is that gonna be?
All right, let's hold on to that, and we'll control the conversation from up here. Thank you, sir. Mr. Whiting, you said more?
So that item hasn't been out at anybody's house yet?
Yes.
Oh, it has?
Multiple times. I
Okay.
personally have been there with it, and Cara and Mike have been there tens of times.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Lehman?
Is it possible to take some already done compost, and then when the really smelly stuff comes in, mix that with already done compost?
That's
Or-
what we do, Councilmember
Okay.
Lehman. And as a matter of fact, when the windrows are built and getting to PFRP, they're covered with a layer of finished compost as a biofilter. That's something we instituted this summer in response to odor complaints.
Okay.
Our consultant, Craig Coker, he's a nationally known composting consultant, told us that was probably the simplest and easiest way to reduce the odor from the windrows.
Can we make the barrier layer thicker? I know there's probably a point to where you're defeating what you're trying to accomplish.
There's a point where it won't pile anymore.
I'm asking because I don't know a whole lot about it on a mass scale.
Could you go up to the microphone, Mike?
It's very important that air is maintained into the pile. You know, the alternative I think that some people would like to see is just don't touch the piles anymore, but you're actually making the problem worse. So a 4-inch layer of compost is what the industry, including Craig Coker, recommends as a biofilter. And that's what we do apply. We could probably be maybe a little more thorough, but you never want to, you want to do everything you can to make sure that oxygen is still getting into the pile.
Councilor Whiting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Would berming help, or would the wind just jump over that, and any kind of windrows of trees and things like that? Is there anything that could help?
Well, sir, I mean, we have that. It's just trees take a long time to grow.
Sure.
I mean, this is the middle of a farm field. It actually was pre-settlement prairie. There were no trees here, 150 years ago. So we've planted a lot of
Do you
trees.
feel that could help?
It will help. It'll help conceal it too, which I think is another issue. I mean, people don't like looking across what used to be farm field and most recently prairie and seeing that facility there, I'm sure. But it takes time, and I know I don't have a lot of patience sometimes, and I don't think some of the neighbors have patience either, so I can understand that.
Thank you.
Councilor Clay.
I'm wondering if we could have staff check for us to see how much it would cost if we were to hire our own engineering company or whatever to do some odor testing, so we're not just relying on your one little machine. Just make sure that it's, verified from a second source, which I would imagine you would probably appreciate to help verify that your equipment is calibrated correctly and giving you good numbers.
Anything else? Councilor Lehman?
Double barrel of some fragrant stuff on the pile.
Potpourri.
Well, that doesn't really prevent the odor, it just creates a different one.
Well, yeah.
There's strong likelihood
Blend.
that someone might not like that one then,
Right.
so.
Yep.
All right. I'd like to hear from other residents at this point, please. If constructive ideas as to what we can do, I understand that the problem is bad and there is absolutely an impact on your lives at this point, but what can we do?
Hello.
Hi.
Do I need to sign?
You do. You need to
Okay.
put your name, your address on there, and say it out loud as well, please. I'm guessing you live behind Lois.
Correct.
Okay.
My name is Chris Seiferle. I live at 1771 Montecito Drive, direct line of fire downwind. I moved here 2 years ago and was looking for a peaceful place. I like the view over the river valley. Really enjoyed, the house needed some fixing, but I figured I'd move in and do the fixing since I'm a contractor. I did call the city as part of my exploratory of whether I wanted to purchase this home and asked if there were any assessments for storm drainage, city water and sewer. Tried to dot all my I's and cross all my T's. My response to that was that there was no assessments pending or any hidden costs coming up, or I can't imagine that there wasn't information on the table that there will be a 200-ton organic compost site 1,700 feet, 1,900 feet from my residence at that point. My direct result from the compost site is calculated. I have written down dates and times of 31 incidents where I had to physically go in my house, shut my windows, and turn on my air conditioning because I could not stand the smell. This is driving up my utility rates, costs of Febreze in my house, neglect to my lawn, canceling family outings. Nobody wants to come eat dinner on my deck when I'm smelling horse manure and rotting pickles outside. You know, it's just not, you know, in another opinion is a lot of neighbors here have talked to each other about this situation. And in a sense, you know, when we call the community of the Minnewacan, if I pronounce that correctly, and say, hey, it really stinks here, can you run over with their monitor? Our occurrence is that they come over a half hour, I'm guessing, later with a meter, and as you directed earlier, Mr. Mayor, the wind, you know, is fickle. It shifts and it moves and it, you know, it'll be going southwest, then pure south, then southwest 20 minutes later. So it's not a constant smell, but when you put the meter up, there's a good 50-50, it's gone. So in a sense, the fox is in charge of the hen house here. And I believe a lot of the information we're getting from the Minnewacan community is, I can't say it's false, I don't have anything to really say there, but a little misleading, I would say, from my experience.
Why would you say that?
Well, I can't understand why 50,000 tons of organics, a temperature that it reaches, I believe, is at the core, as their example showed. That's core temperature. It's not that temperature on the, and I'm not an expert on composting, but it's not that temperature on the outer portion of the pile. This is where molds might grow, I don't know. But all I do know is when I do come out to my driveway, I do have a fresh layer of dust on my vehicle when they turn their piles. And I can't expect that material that's settling on my vehicle, I'm not breathing in. I have found an increase in headaches, nasal problems. I've woke up with my sinuses burning and my throat burning, laying in my bed on one of these steamy, stagnant nights when my windows are open. And wake up with a headache the next morning. Breathing methane, you know, cannot be healthy for you if that's what it's admitting. And I don't have, you know, the technological information and the graphs to show you. All I know is out of my 31 different times that I had to physically walk back into my house, close the windows, spray it down, and turn my air conditioning on, I have a direct effect from this facility. And I know everybody in the Montecito Hook has the same effect. I enjoy opening my windows and sleeping with the ceiling fan on. I would have never purchased this home had I known that would not be possible. The fall weather is beautiful and I love it, and I can no longer enjoy it. So I understand from what I hear, the facility is looking to grow, become bigger, and all I can foresee in the future is that the problem is going to compound by its growth, that it's just going to get worse and worse and worse the bigger and bigger and bigger it gets. I feel that my home value is diminished. I feel if I put a for sale sign, this was a 5-year investment for me, and I plan to remodel my house and sell it. I don't want people to come up to my house, get out of their car, smell the stench, and go, no way. Shut the door and leave, you know? Am I going to be able to sell my house? Sorry, I lost my train of thought, but my utility bills have more than doubled because I just now leave my windows shut. I don't leave them open during the day. I shut them and turn on my air conditioning. I've replaced, I go with a better furnace filter to try to take out anything. You know, we have the furnaces have those fresh air intakes that I've taped that off on my home because it isn't always fresh air it's intaking. And I would petition that the city of Shakopee backs up their residents and does not use this facility. I know there's a minimal amount of people compared to the rest of the residents. I mean, we're 30, 40, 50 residents in the neighborhood out of 23,000?
37.
37,000. So it is a small plight, but our neighborhood is united. We are friendly to each other, and we're not going to just sit down on this. There will be a resolve. This will change. Something's got to happen because this is an awful existence near this site.
Thank you. Any questions up here? Any other residents like to speak?
Thank you.
Thank you. You know the drill.
Got it.
Been here before, Mayor. I did take some notes. Thank you, Honorable Mayor, council people, for taking the time to listen. There are, my name is Jerry Pop, and there are probably quite a number of people watching on TV. I do not live in I want to make this clear, I do not live in the Montecito Heights. I live in the Eagle Creek neighborhood next door. I have discovered there's another neighborhood greatly affected that I haven't heard from tonight, but I did find out about them this weekend. It's called your church edition. John also into another edition over on 17th Avenue. They are more than affected. I think I had a very happy event this weekend. I had a new grandchild. He is 6 pounds 12. He's born a month and a half prematurely at Abbott from my daughter Kate. I don't want him to grow up with this. We have many concerns, but you look at what legacy we're leaving our children. The tribal people have given an excellent presentation. I have talked to some of the tribal members that live there. They are horribly upset. The smell, as these neighbors and people are going to tell you, is real and it's bad. But I don't think you're going to take a child into that facility on your open house. Could I bring my 6-pound infant over there? Could I bring him over there today, Mike? Okay. I don't want it though.
We've had lots of school tours.
I know, but this would scare me. I know it's a good facility and I'm for the environment. But I'm asking us what we're doing to the future generations. And I'm going to leave you with that thought. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Anyone else?
I just have one question.
Come on up.
I noticed in your presentation that you had mentioned you're gonna have a wood chipping facility, and you mentioned a dryer. Is this a dryer like on a farm's place?
Jeff, could you make sure to speak into the microphone so everybody can hear?
I was wondering about the wood chipping, and you mentioned a dryer. Is this something like on a farm for grain drying? Kinda sounds like a jet engine.
No.
So you're telling me the farm I grew up on, the dryers I lived on, the grain elevators I worked in, those dryers, they've come up with something that's super quiet? So I don't have to listen to a jet engine all night when I'm not listening to the grinding? I mean, that's what we're looking at now. It sounds like that we're gonna double the size of your windrows. So the smell's gonna get bigger.
All right, we're not gonna get into
I
it.
mean, just
Yeah.
something for you to consider.
Thank you.
They
We
are
can let
planning
them
to have
answer.
that.
We're not
Thank
going to
you.
get into a big. We're not.
All right.
We don't have the ability to debate tonight.
All right, sorry.
Mr. Ellison, would you like to explain the dryer, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The dryer is an MEC dryer. It's a low-velocity natural gas dryer. If you know anything about the Clean Air Act, it's considered a natural minor source, so it's a fairly low emissions dryer. It does have an ID fan on it, but it's relatively low velocity, just high enough velocity to get the wood chips to move through it. The grinder is a Vermeer tub grinder, which will run only during the daytime. And it's 1,700 feet away from the houses. Right now, that same grinder is running down in Fort Snelling, and there's several running in the city of Minneapolis that are located hundreds of feet from houses. It's a process. It is what it is. And as far as this rumor that seems to be running around here, if we're going to double the size of this facility, I wish the business council would tell me, because I'm going to have to get busy, because we don't have a budget for it and there's no plan for it. That's purely a rumor that arose from I don't know where. Probably because we just did a bunch of work paving the site, so it looked like we were doing additional work. We weren't expanding anything, we were just putting asphalt down. But the primary thing that's going to happen from the dryer is you will see a large white plume, and that's purely water vapor. The wood chips come in at about 40% moisture. They need to leave at about 10% to go to coda. So 30% of the tonnage that comes in there is water. It's going to go up into the atmosphere, and it's just white water vapor. Probably be invisible in the summertime. You'll see it in the wintertime. The building is a large fabric building being built by Greystone here in town. You see them all over the place. They use them for salt storage. You know, MnDOT uses them. They're the large fabric buildings. That's just to keep the stuff dry. I mean, once we spend money drying it, we don't want to have it get wet. And then there will be some truck traffic. There's going to be trucks coming from Coda to the site and then back to Coda to carry fuel. But County Road 83 is a county road designed for that kind of traffic. So they go right up to 169 and get on the US highway.
All right, thank you. All right, council, do you have any thoughts, ideas, comments as to how we as a city can move forward? Councilor Lehman.
Well, we could probably, as a city, draft a letter to the federal EPA asking them to monitor, test, and report their findings, so we know what we've got to deal with. And in order for them to actually monitor and test and get the full effects, since it comes and goes, they're gonna have to do a series of monitoring, testing, and stuff. I would rather go that route first than to try to hire an independent firm to come out and do it. Because A, we're already paying the federal government to do this. Let's get some service out of them.
Is that something that the EPA will
Don't know until you
do?
ask.
Okay.
And since it's another government entity that's running and operating the outfit, it really is their role in this case. So it doesn't hurt to ask them and see where it goes. And if they do agree to do monitoring and testing and reports and stuff based on their findings, they may have suggestions for both us and the Mdewakanton.
Very good. Councilor Clay.
The federal government's not gonna come out here and do this. They'll pass it down to the state EPA, who will send somebody out once or twice for 10 minutes. What we need is to hire a company to be out there for like 48-hour periods constantly and find out how many times the smell comes and goes and how bad it is. Not only at the Montecito site, but also the Church Edition and wherever else we can think of. I'd like to know what that sort of thing is gonna cost us, but it's the kind of information we're gonna need before we can make a decision as to whether we can or can't do anything at all.
Right.
Very good. Anyone else? Okay. Do we have that next meeting, you think?
Do you want to give us a formal direction on that? I've got two suggestions here.
Councilor Lehman?
I'll go along with both of them, actually. The letter doesn't cost nothing to send, and I'd like the information to have independent monitoring, as Councilor Clay also.
I'll second it.
Is that clear?
Close enough to a motion.
Was that
If that's consensus of council?
discussion? Councilor Whiting.
Well, I think we would need some sort of facts-based information to go anywhere with it. I think you'd probably find an industrial hygiene company that could put something together to monitor that. So we could compare the notes and do some of that monitoring. We may want to even look into our own monitor that we could move around, just to have some numbers in front of us to see what this would cost us.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously.
In answer to your question, I would be surprised that we'd be able to put this together by the next meeting. We need to
Right.
first find an engineering firm and then find time for, well, we'll report back to you with the pricing on it. I
Right.
think I heard that.
Yeah, that's all we're asking for is pricing.
All right.
2 weeks for pricing, is that okay, or do you want first meeting of October?
As soon as we can get it, we'll bring it back. It may be in 2 weeks. If not,
Okay.
it'll be the meeting after that.
Mayor,
Councilor Lehman.
I think it might be weather dependent too. I mean, if we're gonna cool off and go into the winter months, it's probably not the time to be testing.
I'd agree.
I don't know.
I don't know that either, but
fine.
maybe we
I
should
would
ask that question.
Probably, yeah, well, whoever
I would,
gives pricing.
I would think that what I'm hearing from both the Mdewakanton and the residents is that them humid, stagnant nights seem to be the worst, so.
Right. Right. Are you up there to speak?
Yes, I just wanted to wait till you were done with that part of it. I just have a question I would like to ask of these people.
No,
parking
it's
lot
not,
for that.
sorry. You can,
Well, about,
you can make a
about-
statement and,
Oh, okay,
and
about-
talk to us about it, but we're not having a back and
Okay,
forth.
well, then
What-
you can maybe ask them. My name's Paula Larson. I live on Eagle Creek Boulevard as well. And my concern, other than the smell, of course, that everybody's been discussing, is the animals. This has been the worst summer for my dog and my cousins. My cousin lives in the church development. Her dog, her paws are raw from the scratching and licking from all the allergies. And this is the first year that my dog has been scratching herself raw, where she scratches herself bloody. I mean, I've been doing a gazillion different things to try to prevent that, but now I'm hearing that it might have something to do with the composting site, and kind of would make sense because she never was like this before.
Mine is the exact same way, and I live on the other side of town.
My
My-
neighbor has the same problem with their dog.
My beagle had allergies when she was little
Mm-hmm.
and stopped for a long time, and this summer has just been hell for the poor dog, and I don't know why. It's been the exact same way. And
So
I-
hopefully this has nothing to do with the compost site.
well, I know that I'm not saying your dog doesn't, but my dog doesn't have anything to do with the compost site. I live a
Right.
ways away.
Yeah, well, that
There's no factual basis to
right,
make
well,
that
that's kind of
connection.
what I wanted to
yet.
ask them, if there was anything.
There's no
to do
factual
with it.
basis for that at this point.
Got it.
Okay,
Does-
all right, thank you.
Is there anything from your perspective that would be that? Okay. All right, so thank you very much.
Can I add one more thing?
As long as you make it quick, Chris.
Very quick. I contacted Roger Fisher at the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. He gave me 2 names and numbers for the air quality people at the EPA if you would like them.
That would be extremely helpful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
I've
you, I
got
appreciate that.
2 phone calls into them already, but
Very good. Thank you, I appreciate that. All right, thank you everybody for being here tonight. We are,
One of the council members mentioned the Nasal Ranger costs $3,000 if you're gonna buy one, just to let you know.
Okay,
Thank you. all right, thank you very much everybody for being here tonight. We're,
Let's take
working
5
together.
minutes while they clear out.
That's fine.
Make a motion for a 5-minute recess.
Second?
Second, do we have any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Passes 4-1.
Well,
All right, we're all back?
Oh, yeah.
Did I drink all the water again?
All right, let's get going.
Stunk, didn't it?
Somebody up here has to be able to whistle, right?
Should we sing?
My dad used to go like this.
I can whistle. I can whistle, but I don't tweet. Got an idea for a new website already, huh?
Yeah.
Whistler? Really? I didn't even notice that. All right, let's go.
Almost there. We're on.
All right, welcome back. Reconvene the meeting at 8:35, and we're moving on to item number 10B1. Chief Tate.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. The police department is proposing two related ordinances this evening. The first ordinance is number 860, requiring massage therapy businesses and massage therapists to be licensed by the city. If approved, we'd offer ordinance number 861, which amends the adopted 2012 fee schedule to include license, background, and renewal fees for both massage therapy businesses and therapists. Now, the city used to license massage therapy businesses and therapists. I believe it was back in 2004 that was repealed. I'm told that had something to do with requests coming from therapists themselves that that no longer be licensed. While I'm sure done with the best of intentions, we now find ourselves as one of the only cities in the metro area that does not have these requirements, and that's proving problematic on a couple fronts. This all started probably late winter, early spring, when a detective in a neighboring metro police department contacted us. Their city had just gone through a licensing process like I'm proposing tonight, and they had several fail their background. Those people immediately came to Shakopee and set up shop. We were given a heads up based on their history, their criminal history, and some of the activity that they had experienced. When we started looking at this and we got involved, we found that the problem was much more widespread, I guess, than we had anticipated. We started looking at Backpage.com, several different erotic advertisements, all the way to city pages. We found that these establishments were openly advertising these illegal services. There were online reviews where they could rate different therapists based on their solicitation services. Some of these even had pictures and addresses of buildings in Shakopee where this was taking place. Complaints started rolling in mainly from businesses. Unfortunately, enforcement is proven a little bit difficult. A lot of these businesses change their name frequently, change locations. We've even had one business that had a cardboard sign on the front door. We've done undercover operations. And while I don't want to overstate the problem, it appears we've become a little bit of a dumping ground for this type of activity. We've done what we can to try and get a solicitation charge in some of these cases, but again, it hasn't worked. So in terms of, is there a problem that needs to be addressed? I do believe that we do, and we need to look at this differently. In terms of a solution, I did not want to come up here and stand before you and propose an ordinance that we had repealed back in 2004, albeit a while ago, unless there was significant buy-in from the stakeholders in this. I think that accomplishes a lot. I believe we did do that. We engaged, when we started down this process, we engaged a lot of business owners here in town. I found a very enthusiastic group that care about their profession and their reputations. It was made very clear to me by multiple business owners, very clear, that if we did not address this problem, they were going to leave. And so we started crafting a process. I got a draft resolution from Kennedy and Graven, a lot of experience in other cities and what they've been doing. I believe there were 6 different businesses that had a chance to look at the draft proposed ordinance moving forward. I heard back from 5, and there was active participation amongst those 5, 4 in particular. One business owner even sent the proposed ordinance out to a number of different colleagues or people for feedback from them too that had experience in other cities. So we took the information in, and we did make changes to our proposed ordinance in a number of different areas. We did wordsmith and craft things a little bit differently. And what you have before you is an ordinance that everybody that participated in supports. And that includes the fees, which frankly, I'll be honest, kind of surprised me. It was made, again, very clear to me that this is common in other cities, and if this is what we have to do to help our business, they did not have an issue with the fees. A few highlights of the ordinance. This does require businesses to be licensed. There's an initial one-time fee of $100 and an annual renewal of $20. Requires individual massage therapists to be backgrounded by the police department, and that's a background that fee, a one-time fee of $50. It establishes minimum requirements, and again, this is an area we got active participation in. I'm assured these are very basic requirements for a therapist, and a standard threshold amongst other cities. Someone who has gone through the schooling and is a professional has no problem meeting these minimum standards that are proposed here. It does give exceptions for medical and chiropractic services as well as interns. That's another thing that was very important to them. In terms of enforcement, I think another reason to get the buy-in is a quick compliance rate. We'll have, I think, these, if adopted, businesses on board. And if we do, as I imagine we will, run across somebody that either did not know about the ordinance or wasn't aware, staff will give them a warning, proper direction on who to contact within the city to get the ball rolling in terms of the license process. Both ordinances, the fee and the license requirement have been prepared and reviewed by the city's attorney. I believe the proposed ordinances are reasonable, and they're not a knee-jerk reaction to what's come up really in the last year. We've attempted to get buy-in, and I believe we've certainly done that. I don't think you see too many cases where we're imposing more regulation and more fees, and the people that are impacted the most by it are standing behind the ordinance and supporting it. So with that, I can take any questions, and Mayor, I do believe there's one or two people here tonight that may want to speak. I don't know if you want to hear from them first or take questions.
Councilor Whiting.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. My question is, we've had this ordinance in the book in the past. Sometimes ordinances get in the book and then they get a little dusty. And who is responsible for enforcing it? Is it going to be the city building code kind of enforcement, or is it more of a law enforcement? Who's going to take the ball forward after 5 years when it is less on the topic of the
In terms of updating the ordinance, that would fall in our lap. Michael's department wouldn't handle the initial inspection that's required under this ordinance.
So it'll be inspected at a building or a community development level, and then on a enforcement level by the police if they see something happening?
Correct.
Okay. One follow-up question, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I know in some cases, massage therapists do this kind of work out of their home, where they might take their little table or chair to a client's home. Is that covered and discussed in this ordinance?
It is, as is, for example, chair massages at Derby Days.
Well, that's a special event.
But that's covered in this ordinance. That is allowed, as long as they're a licensed massage therapist, that is covered. And when a lot of times, as maybe they can probably say better than I can, when they go to out of their business, oftentimes it's for a medical reason, a chiropractic business, and that is covered in this ordinance.
So if they're going for a home visit for under a medical clearance, that's covered?
Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions for the chief? Councilor Clay.
How many are currently in Shakopee right now, businesses that would need a license?
We believe between 6 and 10. There are some that we're going to have to track down that, as I mentioned, are on certain websites and so forth that we'll make contact with and inform them of the process. But between 6 and 10.
Other ones that anticipate being fully able to
Legitimate.
meet all the requirements and get the license, maybe 3 or 4 or 5?
6 or 7.
6 or 7? I'm wondering if we want to waive all or part of the initial fee for existing businesses and only for new businesses coming into town?
Are we allowed to object about that as business owners?
Hold on, we'll get to you.
Okay.
Give me a minute. Counselor Whiting was first.
My concern is, what is the cost for the background check?
Well, expense.
It's a $50 fee that, I believe, based on the information that we'll require an individual therapist to fill out, and
Well, that's what we're
someone in
charging,
our
but there's
office-
is
yeah,
there a
but-
cost for us?
Right, there is. I believe that's a very reasonable fee. Part of this process was looking at the fees in other cities. There's one city that has 5 fees, different fees, for massage therapy businesses. We're proposing 3. I believe they do cover our costs, but they're also the lowest that I looked at.
Counselor Sherman.
Well, that was my question, just were all the fees that are proposed covering all of our costs? And that's how you determine those fees.
Counselor Lehman.
Mayor, I have 3 questions. I kind of hit on them with the chief earlier a little bit, but the first one is a follow-up to Councilor Whiting. Currently, I know of a older gal that does it out of her house. So in this process, she would come forward, go through all the licensing requirements, and then continue on. I believe it's a home occupation permit that she's operating under.
Correct, she would still need to get licensed, and this ordinance does allow for someone to do this out of their home. It says may allow. and
Providing their
that's-
license
right.
and stuff, okay?
There's-
And then the 500-hour requirement, if you go to a school that teaches this and you graduate and you get your certificate and all that stuff, then with that certificate, you don't need the 500?
That's covered on page 8, number 11. You don't have to have A, B, and C, you have to have one of the following. The 500-hour credits, that was a question I posed to multiple people, because that jumps out at you, that is this excessive? Again, it's common in most ordinances, and I was told repeatedly that that's not a hard thing to get. I think in most programs, I was told by one person, I believe it's 600 hours is basically what you come out with, so.
Okay, I guess my question was, if you went to a school, and I don't know which schools offer this, but let's say you sign up for a 2-year course or whatever on massage, and you finish the course, and you get your diploma, and do you still need the 500, or does getting that full-fledged course credit?
If it's from an accredited institution for comprehensive massage therapy, and we wordsmith a little bit based on some language in Rochester, some issues they had with kind of that very thing.
Sure.
You would not need the 500.
Okay. But then that 500 would be like, let's say someone's got 10 years of experience and they've got the diplomas or whatever, and they have somebody working underneath them, then that person would have to work underneath this other person that's accredited until they get 500, and then they might be able to go out on their own?
Well, there is language in here that deals with interns there, and from what I've learned through this process is when it comes to interns and the programs and how that goes through, there is, I don't want to call it an apprentice. There's a process that they go through in the business. Maybe they can explain it a little bit better, but this ordinance again does address the
And then
intern issue.
my last question, Chairman, it really isn't for the chief, but it's probably more for council and staff in general, is we talked earlier in our budget process about having a fee study for the fees that we charge. And you know, I don't wanna put these fees in place and then turn around and do a fee study and then change these fees right away. So I guess I'd like to almost, if we're gonna do this with what's recommended, is to exclude it from this fee study and then include it at a future fee study, so that it's not a back-to-back change if there is a change. So let's say 6 months from now, we do a fee study on what we're charging, and now we're gonna change these, and we just passed it.
Julie? Or Mark, you had, sorry.
I think that would certainly be acceptable, Mr. Mayor and Councilor. I think the bigger thing is to get something in place as soon as we can, and we'll worry about the, whether it covers its costs of investigation at a later time.
Any other questions for the chief? Then we'll hear from the business owners. All right. Jen, you want to start?
I'm Jenny McIntoon. I own Pure and Simple Therapeutic Massage down on 4th and Marshall. And I've lived in Shakopee for about 6 years. And I've really liked Shakopee. And when I opened my business, I was really excited to be on my own. The problem came shortly after I opened. I received a few phone calls asking for light touch massage. I'd reiterate with them, light pressure, because this is not a happy ending place. We strictly do clinical therapeutic massage. We do relaxation, but we also do deep tissue. Oh no, yep, light pressure, light pressure. There's a big gentleman walks in, and he wants to be tickled for 2 hours. He tells me he wants to get hard before he goes home. Do you know what that does to somebody who's gone to school and got a 2-year degree in massage therapy? It makes you feel like you're a glorified prostitute. I asked him to leave. For a week, he repeatedly called to try to get another appointment with one of the other massage therapists. Finally, it stopped, so I didn't need to resort to any more. About a month later, I received a phone call for someone who wanted a half-hour massage. Came in. He was reluctant to fill out paperwork. I said, well, unless you fill out the paperwork, I won't see you. Then he says that he doesn't want me to use scented lotion because he doesn't want his wife to know that he had a massage. I said, well, that's kind of odd, but okay. He proceeds to tell me that when it was the place next to my building, was Christie's Wellness Massage, that they would put oil down in his genitals and wondered if I would do that as well. I said, no, you can pay for your session and leave. I flagged these customers, their phone numbers on my phone. I flagged their files so that we don't ever take them again. And if we do, then I will resort to calling the police. I think it's important that the city really takes a hard look at this ordinance. I've worked in 2 cities that have had these from the day I graduated, Egan and Burnsville. Anyone who is a legitimate massage therapist who has gone through the training, and to reiterate with the training, Mr. Lehman, with this graduating, you complete 600 hours. There's class, there's outside of class, you do an externship at a chiropractic office, a spa, wherever. Usually you are not paid for that time. That creates your hands-on time. So when you walk out with that diploma, that means you qualify for your malpractice insurance, and then when you go out and open up your own business, you have your business liability as well. When you travel to someone's home, that follows you as long as it's under your business. When it gets darker in the winter times, it's not necessarily a safe environment to be walking out in a parking lot when your hours go until 7 o'clock at night. Even if you don't have somebody past 6 o'clock, there's strange people walking around all the time out there. In the summer months, recently, we've had several of the women from the place next to me, Vogue Day Asian Massage, that are constantly parading around the parking lots. This does a disservice for my business. People don't want to come there. I don't want to go there and be thought of that way as well. If we don't put something like this in place and we let this continue, I will strongly pull my business out of here. I will move out of Shakopee and go somewhere where they care about it. I don't know how else to say it. I don't want my safety. I don't want my clients to think that's what I do. I don't want my staff to be concerned about whether or not they can fend off some gentleman. I just think it's really important because when they see that you're part of the chamber, when they see that you have a business license displayed, you become legitimate. That means you've gone through all of the processes that you need to go through. Now, will some slip through the cracks? Probably. They all have. I mean, that happens in every city. But I really, really think that this needs to be seriously looked at. And if somebody can't afford to do that, then they probably don't have a lucrative business to actually say, I'm a certified massage therapist. Because if they can pay to be on the chamber, they can pay for their malpractice insurance, they can certainly pay these fees. And that's all. Any questions?
Thank you. Thought we were gonna have to slap a PG-13 rating on our broadcast tonight for a little bit there.
Yeah, I tried to keep it, but it's all right.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Molly Dose. I'm co-owner of Balance B Bodywork, also here in Shakopee. We recently opened our business in March, and like Jenny, the other two cities that I've worked in both have licensing for massage therapists. Before I came out of school in 2007, I knew that there would be, because the state of Minnesota doesn't license, it's up to each city to license. So that's really what we're talking about. And with that, I knew that in order to be a massage therapist in any city or town, I would need to make sure and go through the local government and make sure that I would be registered. So when I worked in Chaska over 4 years ago, I went through that process there, and I had to reapply there every year, go through the same things that we're asking to do here in Shakopee. In Savage, because I worked at a chiropractic clinic, it's similar to this ordinance that's being proposed. Because I was working with a chiropractor, I didn't need a separate license. But I think it just raises the bar for basically not only being legitimate, but looking at our services as therapeutic and professional as they are. It does hurt each of us legitimate business owners when there are other places in town that are offering other things. I was recently at an event doing chair massage, and one of the guys jabbed one of the other guys, and he said, well, it's not that kind of massage. And I was like, it's very hurtful, you know, and we all know that those businesses are out there. But I think as our city, we want to make sure that we do everything that we can to protect those of us business owners that are here, those of us professionals, so that we don't have those experiences where we have to worry about our safety, worry about what kind of calls we're going to get. It's very demeaning, just like Jenny said. Basically, I think it's just maintaining the professional standards of our city and for all of us who are massage therapists. I think it'll also just help promote that for not only massage therapists, but for the city to come out and say this and have it going forth. It just makes it just more professional. So I would really encourage the council to approve this. The fees are very reasonable. I have no objection to them. I like that there's a one-time fee for a business to go through it. As a business who has 2 massage therapists currently and is looking at more, it's nice that then the massage therapist has to do the $20 fee each year, which is also very reasonable, and then go through the background check. Obviously, that's going to cut out a lot of people who might be looking to do something else, and if they already have a past criminal history. So that's my comment, and thank you for having this finally on the agenda and being able to speak about it so that we can hopefully move this forward.
Thank you. All right, any questions or discussion from council? Oh, I'm sorry.
One more, I'm sorry. I'm Nicole McLaren. My husband Scott and I are also co-owners with Molly at Balance B Bodywork, located right across the street. And I'm not a massage therapist. I'm in there primarily for retail products and overall wellness at our facility. And I can say that within the last 3 weeks, when I've been manning the telephone, since we did have a business that just recently closed down with the article that Shannon put in the paper, the next day it was closed, I fielded several phone calls from very scary men at night wanting to come in half an hour, maybe 5 minutes after they got off the phone. Wouldn't clarify to find out, did we have openings? The main emphasis was, what kind of massage do you give? Do you do light touch? I'm coming in now, and I would have to say, I'm sorry, all of our therapists are busy right now. Can you come in at a different time on a different day? I don't know, we'll call you back. And that was just the end of the discussion. It also makes me uncomfortable to know that I'm in downtown Shakopee, and our business will be open, usually till 7, sometimes 8 or later. And to know that there was another business that close to ours doing illegal things made me very uncomfortable to want to leave. And for us, a big part of opening a business in Shakopee was to support the local economy. And it's something that I know Mayor Tabke has worked a lot on, is to promote business development, as has Angie with the Chamber of Commerce. They've all been very supportive on everything that we've done. Neither my husband and I are licensed therapists, but we would be willing to pay the fees and go through the background check as owners, because we feel that strongly that it will legitimize what it is that we are doing and help to make it a bar of standards for other people to come to as well. If it's working in other cities, why not Shakopee? We don't want Shakopee to become that city that has that hidden curtain of things that we're afraid to have our families and our children look at. And for the actual therapist, it really does demean what they do. It makes me feel sleazy, and I'm not a therapist. So we do ask that you seriously take a look at this. If you can't come up with fees today, that's fine. But we urge you to come to an urgent resolution on this issue, because it is affecting our business. And just because the one place closed down doesn't mean that 2 or 3 more won't pop up in their place while this gets determined in a committee, while you determine the fees. So we just ask that you take careful consideration into this. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Councilor Lehman.
I get twisted like a pretzel every now and then, so I do get a massage, but I'm not following the light touch part. Usually when I get a massage, it's like
Right.
pretty
but
deep and hurts.
Secret
It hurts so
code.
good, actually.
Sounds
You,
like
you know what I'm saying?
It's
So-
a code.
Okay.
It's a code that
That's
is
all I need to know.
typically if they're
We're
coming.
we're good now.
Do we need, should we go into closed session?
Is there any other questions?
No, because sometimes, when they're digging at my neck or something, it's like, God, I wish it would touch me just a little lighter. But
Don't use that.
I'm not gonna say anything like that.
You
All
can
right.
say, you can
I
say
just
the
didn't know.
pressure's too much.
Yeah, I just didn't know what that was implying, so I knew I got it.
Councilor Whiting.
Unless there's somebody else that would like to say something, I would like to offer a motion to adopt City Ordinance Number 860, an ordinance of the City of Shakopee adding a new section 6.45 to the city code regarding massage therapy business and massage therapist licenses.
Do we have a second? Seconded by Councilor Clay. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you all. 10B2, establish massage therapy license fees.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, before you go on to 10B2, with respect to the current agenda, you should also have a motion passed approving the official summary of ordinance number 860. That way we can just publish the summary, which is in your packet. It saves on the publication costs.
I'll offer a motion to approve the summary of Resolution 860, and I'll also add in that motion to adopt City Ordinance Number 861, setting the adopting the 2012 fee schedule for massage therapy businesses and massage therapist licenses.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you much, everybody, for being here,
Yes.
and thanks for
Thanks.
helping Councilor Lehman on the finer points of light touch. All right, 10G1, acquisition of hardware and software for paperless meeting packets. Ms. Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. As you stated, the next agenda item has to do with moving to paperless council packets instead of the pile of printed documents that you receive from the city every 2 weeks. As my memo noted, putting together meeting packets is kind of part of our day-to-day business here of keeping the activities of the city afloat. For those that aren't familiar with them, it consists of a printed paper copy of the agenda, followed by a staff report and other attachments that give council members as well as members of our boards and commissions the background information, cost information, and other things that they need to know in order to make a decision on each item on the agenda. Staff has been looking steadily for about the last 3 months now for a paperless solution to this task that we undertake on a regular basis. Looking back over the past 12 months, we estimate that we create about 100 unique meeting packets every year. That's 2 a month at least for the city council, plus any workshops or special meetings, as well as packets for the planning commission, the park and rec advisory board, and all the city's other various advisory boards and commissions. We also make a weekly activity report that goes out to elected officials as well as some other individuals. So all told, we're putting together about 150 separate packets per year. We copy those for each member of the body as well as related staff. Some of them go to the city attorney and various other parties involved in our meetings, creating about 2,000 total packets per year or 230,000 pieces of paper. I think 2 things end up generally happening with those 230,000 pieces of paper. Either they go in the recycling bin the very next morning after a meeting takes place, or they sit on someone's desk or shelf and pile up and collect dust. Keep them or get rid of them are kind of the only 2 choices. In addition to the paper that goes into this process is the staff time to copy, assemble, and mail or deliver them to elected officials and members of our boards and commissions. There are several benefits of going paperless with this process. Clearly, it's better for the environment. It would allow us to redirect our administrative support staff's time from going through and giving you one of each memo item and making all of those photocopies to higher value projects serving the city. Faster packet delivery. Your packet would be available to you, as would that of our boards and commissions, within seconds of the last memo being completed and signed off on, instead of having it delivered. If you were, or a member of a board or commission, were out of town for the weekend, it's going to be available through any device that has an internet connection, rather than sitting on the doorstep at your home until you return. Improved usability and search features for elected officials, board and commission members, and staff. And we'll demonstrate some of those search features for you in a few moments, as well as improved usability for the public. Our current means of providing access or easy access to the packet for members of the public is that it goes into our Laserfiche document imaging system. Because of the licensing structure of that product, we can only have 10 individuals in at any one time, and it's also not the most easily navigated piece of software that most people have ever encountered. In looking for paperless packet software, we are talking about paperless packet creation from start to finish, not doing everything we currently do on paper and then scanning it in and making it electronic as the very last step. This is paperless in the way staff creates their memos. It routes paperlessly to the supervisors as set up in the systems, and on to the department secretary for inclusion in the packet, all without ever needing to be printed out or put into paper form. Myself and several, Mr. Peterson and a couple of other staff looked at a total of 5 software options out in the marketplace currently. We narrowed that to 2 and brought in a group of all of the city's department heads, secretaries, everybody that touches the packet process was invited to come and view the options. And from that process, we're bringing forward a recommendation tonight for a software product called Agenda Quick. The company that makes Agenda Quick has been in business for about 19 years. They've been making this specific product and marketing it specifically to local units of government for about 8 years. Currently in Minnesota, it is used by the cities of Coon Rapids and Ramsey, both of which have somewhere between 9 and 12 months of experience under their belts with this software. Mr. Peterson has spoken to both of those cities, both the city clerk and the IT staff, and both gave it unequivocal positive recommendations that they would go back and buy it again, given the experience they've had so far. Things we liked in particular about Agenda Quick It can be used for city council meetings, all boards and commissions, plus our activity report at no added cost. If you add an additional advisory board or commission in the future, we can set them up as a board in the software system. We can do that internally and start creating their agenda packets. If you set up a temporary task force, we can use it for that group and then delete that task force from the system when that group has served their purpose and disbanded. We can also set up as many employees as we want to use the system. So again, creating packets here tends to be a very time-crunched proposition. Some of our departments are ahead of the game and have them done early, but the vast majority of us start somewhere on about Thursday morning and are done by noon on Friday with our agenda items. And so we all need to be in this system at the same time. We looked at some systems where you can have 10 people using it concurrently at the same time, and I just didn't see that working in our environment. It's very user-friendly. It works like a lot of common websites to navigate it, and again, we're going to give you a demonstration of the aspect of the software you would work with here in just a moment. It would also, what we're recommending is that it be hosted internally on the city's servers. That way, if we were to lose our internet connection, the work of staff to get the packet ready to go could still go on. It would be all compiled and waiting, and as soon as the connection came back, it would distribute out to whatever the audience is for that particular packet. So, Mr. Peterson is going to give you a demo of how the software would work for you as elected officials. It would be viewed the same way for members of the public and members of the city's boards and commissions. And I think he's going to use the City of Ramsey council packet as a sample.
John Peterson, Telecommunications Coordinator for the city, for anyone that might not know. What I'm going to demonstrate it on tonight is just one of the iPads that's one of our staff members brought in for this evening, and that is the device we're recommending for purchase in the memo you saw. We also have a Nook, which provides the 7-inch screen, which is primarily what the alternatives are out there. If you'd like to have them passed around, you can certainly look at them. The primary way that we would operate this as an end user or as council members, staff members, you go in through the browser. So for the iPad, it's Safari here. And I opened up the City of Ramsey site already. If you're not familiar with tablets, you kind of pinch to zoom in, pinch to zoom out. And we're gonna go over here, just pretend like this would be our City of Shakopee website. So we have agenda, minutes, and weekly updates. So we'll click into there. And this is all real time happening on the fly here. So then we're gonna actually go into the agenda quick portion of their website here. And now you see the list of meetings. I'm actually gonna go into August because there's a few more available there. And I'm gonna zoom in so you can just see it a little bit better. But you have all of August 2012, excuse me, their different meetings. We're gonna open up the August 28th, 2012 City Council regular session. And then here you have the agenda. So everything within here that you see is blue, that's a clickable link that goes right into that memo. So what I'm gonna do is select item 4.8 here. So I'm clicking into this memo as if you're going along through your packets normally. And here you actually have the memo itself. And this is all created through the Agenda Quick program. Up at the top here, you see that we have it numbered in the right-hand corner, just like your packets have today. You have the meeting date, the byline, title, background, all that information. You also have included attachments and then form tracking and review. So you can see who started the memo, who reviewed the memo, when it was finally approved by. All of that is customizable within the Agenda Quick program. So that's all stuff we can set up in our workflow. If you click to open attachment, it opens in a separate tab up here, and it opens as a PDF file. This is just a one-page one. You can scroll up and down this way. Again, you can zoom in or zoom out. And then if you wanted to, if it's a lengthy item, you can click the tabs to switch back and forth between the memo and the attachment. And then you can close the attachment when you're done with it. And then if up here you see there's a couple other options as well where we have next, previous, return. Next would actually go to the next item on the agenda. So when you're done with 4.8, you go to 4.9. previous, if you needed to go back again, would go back again. If you hit return one time, it'll go back to the full agenda. And then I was gonna open up item 7.3 here, because this also has some maps in it. So I'm gonna zoom in here. We have a site location map. So here you see this is one of the examples of a type of map. Again, you can zoom in to see it closer if you need to do that. And then we'll go back and open up another, we're gonna open up these preliminary plat sheets. Some of this, depending on the size of the file, might take a minute to load up, but you can see these are pretty intense in detail. You can just scroll through the pages. Again, you can zoom in. Once it's loaded, it'll clear up the actual font so you can read specific areas if you need to. So that's how you would use this product in a city council environment. Again, if you do return once, it goes back to the agenda at the top. If you do return again, it goes back to your meeting menu.
Hold on a second, John. Councilor Clay, you have a question?
So on my paper packet, I've taken my yellow highlighter and highlighted some couple lines on
Yes.
there to make it appear as though I read it.
Yes.
Can anything like that be done with this?
One of the applications we recommended purchasing in the memo is called iAnnotate. If you download your agenda as a PDF, and here I'll click into it again so you can see where that is. Up here you have download PDF, then it would be stored onto your local tablet or other device. On the tablet itself you have iAnnotate, where you can go in and do highlighting. You can write your own manual handwritten notes to it. You can type notes onto it. You can manipulate it, bookmark things if there's multiple pages. So it does exist, at least in the tablet environment.
Councilor Lehman.
How do you get the handwriting inside there?
You have to have a special app, a special application that would be on the iPad itself. So once the PDF is downloaded onto your tablet, you go into that application and you open it up inside of there, just like if you open up a document in Word, and then you can start typing into it. Oh, you can use your finger to do the handwriting, or we'll also be buying a stylus, which is just like a little pen that interacts with the tablet, so you can do it that way.
So a guy could take the item, the agenda item, and make notes on the page like I do with my junk, like this.
Yes, absolutely.
And then Counselor Clay here will be able to highlight his in multiple colors.
Yes.
Oh, I can do different colors too.
Stick with the orange, I'm telling you.
Anything else? Otherwise, I'll just do a quick demo of the search feature.
Keep going, yep.
Okay. As Ms. Wilson mentioned, there is advanced searching here, and this will be anything that if we start using Agenda Quick from that moment on, searching back. It won't go back into stuff we already have stored in Laserfiche. But down here, you can search different agenda items. Let's say we're gonna start with January of 2012, and we'll go through August of 2012. You tap into the box and you type in your term that you wanna search. We're gonna search streetlights. And it'll pull up all of the meetings where streetlights has been discussed, and it'll highlight it in red. So you see in January 17th, it was at a Public Works meeting, July 24th at the City Council regular meeting, and then again at the City Council workshop. So anytime streetlights has been discussed or mentioned in a memo, you have access to that. You say, oh, this is the one I want, so you click on it, and it pulls up that memo. So if you need to go back and research something that way, it's all right there at the tip of your search. Again, this has the attachment still there, so if you wanted to see the attachment to that memo, it's there as well.
Does that include minutes, John?
There is a minutes module where the clerk department can start creating the minutes. I don't remember if it's searched into the minutes. I believe it does. So. Okay. I think that pretty much kind of covers what I wanted to demonstrate tonight. Can certainly try and answer any additional questions.
Councilor Whiting.
Well, time is money. So how much time is spent by staff each month collating and delivering the packets?
It's a good question. Depends on how quickly staff like myself and my fellow department heads get their stuff in to our various secretaries that do this. A rough calculation, I would say that this will save 2 to 3 hours a week for our admin department secretary if it's a council, if it's the Friday before a council meeting. Probably a little bit less for the secretaries in planning and parks and rec, simply because their agenda packets tend to be thinner, have fewer components to them. It does not save staff time on the part of the people authoring your memos. I still need to sit down and think about, what do I want to say? How do I want to structure the information? What's my recommendation going to be? What attachments make sense? So that part is still there. It's just done differently than today I open up a Word document, and when I'm done, instead of hitting submit, I go pick it up off the printer and I put it in the deputy city clerk's inbox. That's how it's done. I would bet on an average week, we would see citywide 4 to 5 hours of savings in administrative staff time.
45 hours?
4 to 5 hours that can be
I heard you. I'm
redirected
teasing.
to somewhere else. And that's gonna vary from one department to the other. One week it's planning commission secretary that's not having to do this. Another week it might be the secretary in park and rec.
What about mailing costs? All the boards and commissions have it mailed. Has that been
Yes.
calculated?
I have not calculated that to the penny. I started with the 230,000 pieces of paper and what our provider of our large copier charges us per sheet, plus what we pay for a box of paper. And I'm estimating that we're going to save about $3,500 in paper and printing ink costs.
You see where I'm going with this? I'm trying to
There is a
add
cost
some value
savings
to it.
I've got a couple more slides if you don't mind, but there is definitely a cost savings. I cannot stand up here and tell you that that cost savings offsets the cost of this project. I don't believe that it will. There will be some offsetting savings, but there is not going to be a full return on your investment purely in terms of dollars saved. Part of that is, we don't intend to cut our secretaries' hours per week down. We intend to use them to do other projects here at the city,
Sure.
So you don't directly see a savings on the bottom line when you do that, but you do operate more effectively
Right.
and efficiently.
Mr. Mayor, if I could have a couple questions, if I could
You
continue.
want to let her finish, or?
Or do you had a couple more you
I
wanted
have
to
a couple more
Oh,
things
please,
about the
please.
project overall.
Yeah.
As John referenced, there are two kind of sideline components to this software. One is the minutes module, and that has no added cost. We'll have that available to us from day one. I think our vision right now is to spend a couple months getting used to the software, and then once we've got putting the packets together down to a science, then we'll start creating the minutes using the software a couple months into it. And then they also offer web streaming modules. We currently have a web streaming service we're under contract with through next July. We would intend, to finish out that contract and then possibly look in more detail at their web streaming service to see if that's something we want to do in the future, but it's not part of this acquisition. Project costs. In round numbers, the project cost is $45,000 one-time upfront. That's broken down into 3 components: the purchase of 25 iPads and accessories such as the stylus pen, a protective case, the iAnnotate app that'll allow you to take notes and highlight your memos and so forth. $7,300 for infrastructure upgrades to the council chambers. That is a wireless internet system that would function in this room, electrical outlets up at the dais should someone arrive for a meeting with their device less than fully charged, and a storage cart for the devices that are going to live here in the council chambers and will need to be both secured for anti-theft purposes as well as charged in between meetings. And then $18,450 for the actual software that Mr. Peterson just gave you a partial demo of. And then secondly, $12,000 per year in ongoing costs. That is the maintenance agreement on the software is a fraction of that, something about $3,500. And then Verizon wireless data service for the devices that we envision leaving this room so that they work outside of this room. The memo covers in a little bit more detail the hardware that's proposed to be purchased to make this work. Staff is recommending that iPads be purchased, which is the device that you saw on the screen up here. So it's considered about a 10-inch screen, I believe, on these devices. We would purchase enough of these that each elected official could have one checked out to them, that during your tenure on the city council, it's your device to take home with you. You would be able to get your city email on this device as well as read your packet, and you would then bring it with you to the meetings for use as a reader in place of bringing your stack of papers that you bring today. Additionally, they would be provided to department heads for the same purpose, to bring into and out of the meetings that we attend, as well as our staff meetings and our organizational meetings that lead up to each city council meeting. The second set of iPads would be Wi-Fi dependent, meaning they would not be able to function outside of a physical location that has wireless internet service. Those would live entirely here in this room. If you were a member of the Planning Commission or the Park and Rec Advisory Board or the Telecommunications Commission, when you walk in for the meeting, you're gonna find a charging cart sitting right there by the door, and you're gonna select a device out of that cart and take it up to the dais with you and use it during the meeting and return it to the cart when you are done with that meeting. So for those members, we would be asking them to do their advance prep, their reading of their packet at home on a personal device. It's viewable on any computer with an internet connection, a laptop, a tablet type device. It's possible to read it on a smartphone, although I'm not sure I can imagine reading an entire council packet on that size of a screen, but technically it's a possibility. The other benefit to the iPads is that it would serve as our screens for future meetings requiring video conferencing. We have been working on perfecting video conferencing over the last month or so, and as you have seen, that requires bringing laptops into the room, and those are laptops that people are using for their everyday, computing needs. My laptop, the finance director's laptops, get whisked away from us at 4:30 and brought in here, and we run cords and cables. That would be able to go away. We would use the devices in the cart to provide you with a video screen of anybody participating electronically. And lastly, funding options for this project. This is an unbudgeted expense. When we started calendar year 2012, this was not on our plate. It's arrived on our plate through requests from several elected officials, as well as staff changes that we've undergone here that have made us think it's time to take a fresh look at this. There are 4 possible sources of funding for this project. The city's operating budget every year does have an unallocated section. It has been tapped for a variety of projects already this year, and if you spent it for this project, it would be down to 0. Then we estimate there's about 50,000 left in unallocated. So if you spend 45, it's pretty much gone. A general fund balance, which is basically underspend from previous years. The IT fund does have a cash position at this time, meaning that we aren't spending annually every dollar that's coming into that. And there is also a research and development fund in the telecom division budget. I hesitate to put that on the list a little bit. It's been the city's practice to spend that on the recommendation of the Telecommunications Commission, and they have not yet reviewed this project. We could certainly take this project to them for consideration at their meeting in about 3 weeks, if you would like us to. So that is the end of my prepared remarks, and John and I would be happy to answer questions about any of those components.
Councilor Whiting.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I was jumping ahead there. What are I got a few questions. What's the lifespan of these iPads?
We are estimating the lifespan at about 4 years.
We estimate that we would replace them on the 4th year. Each iPad comes with a 1-year warranty. We'd be purchasing, if this was approved, the extended warranty, which adds 2 years. So we have 3 years of coverage. So we plan to replace on the 4th year.
Okay. Now, would each board and commission member need software, or they'd go to the city website to look at the agendas?
They would go to the city website.
So they don't need a software package for their home device. Okay, now what about confidential information? Would that be encoded, or?
There's a couple options. We talked to the programmers with Agenda Quick for closed session items. We can attempt to set up secure logins for council members, say for example, where you can actually log into the software and see the items there, so they never actually go out to the public. The other alternative is to do something where We could look at some type of storage or cloud storage like a Dropbox or Google Drive, where only council members and certain staff have access to that cloud storage and get to it that way. The third option they mentioned actually is that a number of their clients are still printing out closed session items, just to be safe.
Councilor Sherman.
I have questions about the hardware. So you're specifically recommending an iPad when there are hundreds of other tablet devices on the market, and an iPad is on an Apple operating system versus we're all in a Windows environment here. So I just wonder, and plus they're expensive. So if you look at an Android type device on a Windows platform, there are devices that are much less than $630 a year or each. So how did we get to that specific device when there's so many other options?
I can tell you generally what our criteria were when trying to identify the best tablet for this project, and then Mr. Peterson has some details about, 5 or 6 different specific tablets. We were looking for a device that had both Wi-Fi and could take a wireless data plan, generally either a 3G or a 4G. There are numerous tablets out there on the market that you can't get a 4G for. So you would have to be in a room with wireless internet service in order to make the device work, and we didn't feel that we could work under that baseline assumption that every elected official is going to have wireless in their homes from which to read their packet ahead of time. So we were looking for a device that allowed for that 4G internet service. Because we hope to use them for video conferencing, we are also looking for a device that has a built-in camera and audio that we can use for Skype sessions. If you can hand me, this is my, this is another brand of tablet computer. It's the Barnes & Noble Nook tablet. It happens to be my personal device. Much less expensive, I think $199 for this device, but they don't make cameras in these, so we could not use these for our Skyping sessions, and we would be back to hauling in laptops and setting up cords and so forth. We looked at screen size. This is a 7-inch screen. This is a 10-inch screen. For reading the level of detail and so on, we felt that the 10-inch screen was more reasonable choice than this. And lastly, this vendor, as well as pretty much every vendor we looked at, designs their product for iPad. They guarantee that it's compatible and it will work on iPads, and they tell you, we think it'll work on other devices, but we don't guarantee it. And that's, an iPad is the market leader, and most software companies that are developing first for iPad and later on for other devices. The iAnnotate, which is the one add-on application we anticipate most council members will want so that you can take notes and highlight up your memos and stuff, costs just $10 per device that we want to put it on, but it's not available for any of the devices that are operating on an Android system yet. It says coming soon on the iAnnotate website. So those were kind of our criteria for a device. Do you want to put the table that you created up?
We'll have to zoom in a little bit here and go side to side a little bit. As soon as the focus comes on. We did look at other tablets as well. In the memo, we mentioned there's already the Wi-Fi only iPad as well as the data iPad, and what we were looking at, as Chris mentioned, is Wi-Fi 4G, screen size, pixels per inch, memory, battery runtime, and the cameras, especially for video. So you see here, on this list as we go through it, the only other one that offers a data connection is the Galaxy Tab 2. Where we felt that was lacking, as Ms. Wilson mentioned, was the screen size. And again, if you want to pass them around just to physically see, I was surprised at how much of a difference it really is between 10 and 7 inches. But and then if we go just a little bit further to the right here, here are some of the other ones where there's a similar device that's around the same price range, but it's Wi-Fi only, same screen size, but then also reduced cameras. Well, actually similar, sorry. And then we have other items, the Google Nexus, which just came out a couple weeks ago. Wi-Fi only, 7 inches, no cameras at all in there. Same with the Kindle Fire and the Nook, there's no cameras there. So that's essentially how we came to picking the iPad out of the list of tablets that we considered.
discussion.
Yes.
So, what about, people that have their own personal devices already that could do this? You know, rather than making an investment in hardware when, like, for example, I mean, I have a MacBook with a camera and that's where I've Skyped in before. From that pretty much has all the functionality that I would need.
I think we're preparing this budget for you as the maximum we would want to spend. If a particular council member wants to say, please don't order one for me, I prefer to use my own device, we will certainly hold off on ordering. You know, we'll reduce our order by that number. I do think we need to have the money available though, because the members of our bodies change over time, and an election could bring different faces that say, I don't have that device available to me. I would like the city to provide me one, and we would need to be able to order one, you know, on a moment's notice and get that person up and running. So, but we can certainly reduce the total order number of devices if there are members that do not wish to have a device checked out to them by the city. The same thing with the Wi-Fi connection. You know, if we have members that believe that they have plenty of access to Wi-Fi where they regularly read their council packets, we can certainly not set you up with that Wi-Fi account, and that'll save us some money. It's incremental though to the overall price of the project, I think, unless we require all board and commission members and kind of everybody to bring their own device, because we're looking at about $18,000 in device purchases.
Councilor Lehman.
All right, a whole host of questions for you. Internally hosted, what prevents the perception of items inside the system being altered or changed by the host?
By the host?
Yeah, let's say there's a number of $350,000 in budget line X or whatever, and everybody reads it, and then somebody says, that number changed.
The device will record an electronic paper trail, and it'll tell you the last person that edited each document. So if it goes that way through a council and it comes back later on, a month later, and you go back and you say, when I read that the first time, that memo said something differently, you'll be able to pull up an electronic audit trail. What prevents it is once the packet is complete, and for example, on a city council packet right now, Mark looks at the agenda and says, okay, it's ready to go out the door. The software has a device that says lock and publish, and you click lock and publish, and now no staff member can come in there and change their memo that they submitted earlier that day and presented as being done. You know, they'll have to find another way to convey to you that we have updated information or whatever. They won't have access into the system to just change it.
And I was looking at it more from a standpoint of the general public perception of not being able to make that argument. And it's nice, reassuring to know that once it's published, it's not changing.
Yep.
So a person has, what'd you call this thing?
It's an iPad.
All right, I'm still in the Stone Age, but anyway, how does it get its information into does it come down here to get updated?
No,
Or does
it will have
does
a.
it by itself?
Rains down from the cloud.
Wow.
It's gonna do it by itself?
It will, yes. If you turn your device off the night before and you come home on a Friday evening in which we've prepared a council packet, when you turn it back on Friday night, it will be there. It'll be on your list of available meetings to you. You can see that that meeting was added and is now there.
Okay.
If you're actively using the device when we publish, you may need to hit refresh for it to go out and see. But as soon as you turn it off and turn it back on the next time, what we have published here from City Hall will be available to you.
If I can just add too, as a member of council, you'll be in the list within the council packet area. So you'll get an email to say, this packet is now available.
Okay, well, that was one of my next questions, because I don't use the city email.
We can enter any email address for you
True.
to
Okay.
get that notification.
And then I didn't see in your list of expenses on this program of training cost.
The company provides no-cost training to city staff, or it's included in the price that we've presented to you, is their staff training us on how to use it and how to set it up. And then what we envision for training board and commission members as well as elected officials is offering training sessions in the 5 to 7 p.m. time range where you can come down and work one-on-one with John or either one of our IT staff to get a hands-on demonstration and actually receive your device. And we would have John or one of our other 2 IT staff on hand for each first meeting where it's rolled out. So the first time the Planning Commission has a meeting where they're using this, we would have IT staff sitting in the room throughout that meeting to make sure that they can handle any questions that pop up.
And then have we put this past the boards and commissions and get their feeling on it?
We have not. We have put it past staff, but we have not put it past each of the boards and commissions. Because we are not proposing to provide devices for the boards and commissions, the way we envision this working is when someone gets appointed to a board and commission, just like currently we ask them, you know, what email address is best to contact you at, those types of things. They'll be asked, would you be willing to receive your packet in an electronic format? And they can choose yes or no. If there's someone that doesn't feel comfortable using the software or an internet, they would check no, and the secretary from that department would use the print function that's available once the packet's all put together to come up with a paper copy and mail that out. We estimate currently that we have about 4 board and commission members that we know don't use email. So we're guessing they may be a group that doesn't want to receive their packet electronically. So we estimate that we would still have 4 people that we would print for, as well as the public copy would still be printed
What's your
to
best
paper.
guess as to the number of people on the council that would not want to?
3 of those were on council.
I have emailed with all of you, so I know you all have email at a minimum.
Well, at a minimum, I'm gonna need both, because I don't know if I can do that thing compared to this. And I'm old school, so I kinda like the paper, but I'm willing to try it, and I don't know if it's gonna work for me or not, but if it doesn't work for me, I'm going back to the paper. But I don't wanna spend no money doing it.
That was all your questions? I was
What's that?
like, I was hunkered down for a lot more questions there.
Well, I would try the, IT, not IT, the, what was the other, last one that you had on there?
Telecommunications Commission has an
Yep.
R&D fund. They do not have enough money in that fund to fund this full project. $27,000 in their R&D fund currently. They had been considering a project with that staff researched, and after seeing the research, they decided not to proceed with that project they were considering. So to the best of my knowledge, they do not have something in the works that they're hoping to spend that $23,000 on. But I have not spoken to them about this project. So.
All right. So when you're creating the memos, are they all created online so they're automatically where they need to be, or do they have to be created in Word and then emailed to the deputy director so that they have to be then uploaded, or how does that work?
Each staff member that has a username and a login, and as I said, we can have as many staff members set up as we want, logs right into the system. And by my setup, I'm only going to have access to certain documents. So if I'm a city planner, it's probably not going to let me create an agenda item in for the Telecommunications Advisory Committee. It's going to say you have access to these. So I go in, as it knows who I am because I logged in. I pull down the meeting I want to create an item for. I then can pick my date I want to create my item for, and I can type it right in there. It has the ability to allow me to cut and paste for Word. So if we've got an employee that really doesn't feel comfortable in front of the screen and wants to type in Word and cut and paste, it's technically possible. It's our hope that people will give it a try and get used to it, because it's certainly, you gain the most efficiency by working directly with the software.
And we don't have to have the police running around delivering packets.
This is true.
Fan of that as well. And then my next question was funding. How do you recommend we do the funding?
Boy, that's a good question. Thank you. I was going to pull back up funding options. Yep. Let me ask the finance director. Will you take her recommendation?
All right. I'll take any recommendation just to give us some direction.
Okay, Julie Linehan again. We've talked about this as we've looked at this process, because you got me trained now. Go here and say my name.
I didn't catch your name, sorry.
That'd be Julie Linehan. All I's, no E's.
We'll have Bruce announce you every time he goes up.
He's still getting
Got a
even.
different name for her.
When we talked about this, we said, you know, this is unbudgeted. So there's nothing that's been placed in this year's budget. It really does come down to, is this a priority you want to do in 2012 and keep this moving forward as requested? If so, you're really limited on what your options are. When I looked at the options that Chris had put forward, I would be very concerned about removing the funds from the IT fund. That fund is very new. It's not terribly strong. I really have a concern about pulling funds from there. The one option you could consider is a combination of use of unallocated portion of this year's budget and then a use of some fund balance. That might be a methodology that would work in a situation like this.
So you're recommending half from
Half and
unallocated and half
Just
from
go half and half and roll it from
fund
there.
balance?
Mhm.
Okay. Councilor Whiting?
Julie, why not the TAC fund?
The telecom?
Yeah.
They haven't seen this yet.
Well, I know, that's, I
And,
mean, but
and
maybe
again,
that's a
it would
place to
be a
start.
policy decision. Is that how you want to use those funds? That's an unusual use of those funds.
For
Need to use an
telecommunicating?
iPad is research and development.
And it's telecommunicating, I thought.
Yeah, I think the Telecommunications Commission would be open to the project. Like I said, they just haven't heard it, and generally, their R&D spending is ideas they've come up with and nurtured and researched and developed till they're ready to go. But in the past, they have looked favorably upon how can we use technology to make ourselves more efficient. They were the first funding source for laptops in our squad cars. They were the original funding source for
Community centers, security systems.
security cameras at the community center.
Wi-Fi squad car download.
You know,
other
so
cameras,
they commonly have used those funds to make technology investments that are viewed as a way to make our operations more efficient. I think the only real downside of doing that is you would be looking at basically tabling the item, having it go to them, and it would come back to you at your first meeting in October.
I know how to fix this.
Councilor Clay?
Easiest way to take care of this problem is we'll make it effective, to go into effect on 2014, and we'll just cover it in the budget next summer discussions.
That is an option.
That's an
I
option.
would suggest that
We'll have
you
a-
allow me to update the costs
Well,
if you
we'll
want
have
to
a,
push it out that
we'll have
far.
a new 2-year stint for members on the council, and we won't have to train in anybody that may not be here then, and it's.
Can't imagine that applied.
Councilor Sherman?
I was just wondering why this wasn't in the 2013 budget discussion and why the urgency.
I wouldn't say there is a huge urgency. I was asked what would it take for us to do paperless packets, and so I feel that's what I'm presenting tonight is here's, based on our best research, what it would take. If the council decides that they're happy to continue with paper, we as staff are all very comfortable, very used to it. We can kind of, put the packets together, I don't want to say in our sleep, but it's just part of our everyday way of doing business. The reason it's not in the 2013 budget is from those inquiring about it, I got the impression that they wanted to move quicker than that. If you approved the project tonight, we would estimate that you would see your first paperless packet for one of your meetings in November, either your first or your second meeting in November. That is your time frame.
Councilor Lehman?
Well, the other option would be to find a $50,000, $60,000 savings in the proposed budget.
Certainly, yes.
In a bit. Also, part of the urgency is to be able to do the Skyping much better than we have, and being able to have remote meetings work as opposed to the way they're going right now. That was part of the urgency on that as well. All right. So, public comment, of course. You've got to go up and do the whole deal.
This time I'll do it correctly. Sean Nelson at 603 East 8th Avenue.
That S-O-N or S-E-N?
S-E-N. Oh, S-O-N. Forgot my...
All right, you're done.
Now that I've got my own name wrong, I think I've really set the tone for this public commentary, but I was in school for 5 years and have had a lot of goings on with Microsoft Word and email. I've had hundreds of emails sent, thousands of emails, but hundreds a year. People sent me things to annotate, and sometimes 10, 12 projects per day, constantly communicating back and forth. I've had an iPad for 2 years now, as a gift. And I like the iPad, I really do. And we're talking about increasing the tax levy for the first time in 3 years. And I think that putting this kind of money aside for something, with all due respect to the people, their intentions are pure, I have no doubt about that, but putting aside money for something like this at a time like this, for something that, I hate to sound mean about it, but seems superfluous and redundant, to be honest. It seems like in the long term it may slightly increase efficiency, but in the short term, 1, 2, maybe 3 years would deplete it quite a bit. It does not seem like a very good idea. And that's the way it'll probably look to the only reason I mentioned is because you mentioned how this would look to the taxpayers. And I thought, well, that was my first impression. But anyway, yeah, there you go.
Thank you. All right, discussion. Councilor Sherman.
Yeah, I'm just having a hard time because I don't see the ROI that pays for the total project. And I understand I am a consumer of the Skype meetings, so I do get that. However, we've done okay. We've done it a couple times with the equipment that we do have.
We have not done okay on ours.
You were on the wrong side of the camera.
It is not been okay on this side.
Not comfortable with
So, you know, if that's something that cannot occur, I just feel like this cost, it's a pretty high price tag to kind of be the cool kids with the iPads. It's just my impression of it.
So are you?
I'm not supportive of it unless we find a place in the budget and we find savings somewhere else and we prioritize it and say, we're gonna give up something else to do this because it's that important. So.
What I was gonna say was, would you be for ditching the top portion of this and just doing the paperless packet?
The software.
Software?
That could be an option.
And
I
then
mean, if the software creates the efficiency and we don't go with the hardware and the devices, the software I'd be willing to look at. Again, 2013 budget, I don't think we need to go spending having unbudgeted expenses at this point in time, but if we could find the funding, the software looks very user-friendly and could create a better process on the back end.
What do you guys think about that?
If the council wanted us to purchase the software and start using the software, we could do that. It would provide a better user experience, I think, to the public that's trying to view and follow the agenda packets. And those members of the council, as well as of our boards and commissions that have portable devices, could certainly choose to bring them with them and use them here in the council chambers. I think we're gonna end up printing out 80% as many paper copies as we do today, you know, which takes up the paper and the staff time and so forth. Would we see some improved efficiency? I think we would, probably, but not on a much, much smaller magnitude if we wanted to go that route. We would then have made the upfront investment in the software, and you could add reading devices in future years if you wanted to. The price of the software upfront is $18,450 upfront, and then $3,500 per year if you wanted to do software only.
Councilor Whiting.
You know, I do believe, you know, we don't have all the numbers for the return on the investment, but I think a 3 to 4 year payoff is probably within the realm of reason once you put those numbers together. I agree with getting the software, and I think we should refer the hardware part to the Telecommunications Commission.
And the part that we haven't talked a lot about, that I get a lot of feedback from residents, is the not being able to find information and search information, which having the paperless packet software would go a long way to solving that. Because I don't need an iPad. I've got my own, and I have my computer, and as long as I can access it without getting this gigantic stack of papers every Friday afternoon delivered by an officer, I would be extremely happy with that and just being able to handle it on my own. Councilor Lehman, sorry, I started talking while your hand was going up.
Well, first, I would throw it past all the people that are gonna be forced to use it, all the boards and commissions and stuff. That's the first thing I would do. Second, we don't have the money to do this, and I think there's gonna be a huge learning curve for some folks.
Which is a good thing.
Well, maybe, maybe not. I mean, depends how you look at it. So, I'm not really in favor of it at this point either. Not yet, anyway. Not unless we find something to cut that costs more than this.
So you're not in favor of any of it?
I was led to believe that when we update our website, we're gonna make the website, without this software, more user-friendly with tabs and links to various things so people can actually get around and find this stuff a lot easier, so.
That is true, except for the fact that where we store all of the memos and the minutes and all that kind of stuff is extremely user unfriendly, and so we won't be able to, that portion is never gonna change unless we invest in software.
The storage stuff isn't hard to get at, per se. You can go right on and look at all the agenda packets from the past.
Yeah, but a perfect example is over the weekend, I was trying to find the plat for the Valley Creek Second Edition.
And you search for that.
And I searched for it, and I couldn't get to it.
Yep, that portion I don't like either.
And this would fix that. Not only for me, but also for our residents trying to figure out the plat of the Valley Creek Second Edition of who I was trying to find it for, but failed miserably.
But aren't we gonna try to fix that without this, just with our website upgrade?
Mr. Mayor?
Chris?
No, the website upgrade, we are certainly hoping to make it more user-friendly and searchable for the content that's directly loaded on the website. But the agenda packet is scanned into Laserfiche and provided as a link to the website. So if you are looking for improved usability of the agenda packets for the public, the website upgrade is not going to accomplish that, I would say.
That's not what we were talking about. We were talking about if you went onto the city's website and searched for a past document, whether it's
Right.
street lighting on First Avenue.
Right.
Will it pull that up like the iPad did?
No, it will not. The this improved search in our city website will find documents that are web pages that are written in HTML code in our website. That's what it searches, is the HTML code. Scanned in documents are generally PDFs, and I'm not aware of a website that's going to search those and bring the kind of results that you saw on the demo. Our Laserfiche scans and searches for character recognition, but I would agree with the mayor and having had similar experiences, frustrating experiences, where I know, I authored or typed resolution such and such. I typed it myself. I know you folks passed it 3 months ago, and I cannot get it to give me a copy of it. So if you want to see improved public access specifically to the agenda packets, I would not hang your hat on the website upgrade to do that for the agenda packets. My second comment, if I could, is staff does not envision forcing anybody to use this. Like I said, any board and commission member that wants to request that they still receive a paper copy would certainly be welcome to do so, and we would provide that.
Councilor Clay, I think you're the only one we haven't heard from.
Yeah, it's because I don't care.
All right then.
I could, see buying the software and find a place somehow to budget the hardware part next year.
Okay. Councilor Whiting.
Well, if you're ready for a motion, I would make the motion to proceed with purchasing the software using the fund that staff believes best suited for. I don't know, do we need to designate a fund on something like that?
Yep.
We would? Well, then I would take it out of, general fund balance and pass the hardware portion off to the TAC for further research and use of their research funds.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Clay. Discussion.
Mr.
Johnson.
Mayor, just a clarification, Chris, or, the motion right now is just for the software. To use that, do you need the infrastructure too, though? In other words, if they need to bring their own iPads, or they bring their own, do you still need, for example, electrical at the dais?
No, I guess in my opinion and from the read I'm getting of the council, that if you're bringing your own device, you're gonna be responsible for making sure that it's charged when you walk in the
Yeah, but
room.
my laptop won't stay run for 4 hours, which this meeting is gonna go.
And secondly, if you're depending on Wi-Fi in the room, we do have limited Wi-Fi at the moment. We can have five. We can have up to 5 people on Wi-Fi in the room at the moment. The proposed project was to enhance the Wi-Fi in the room at a cost of $3,000, which would have given us.
I would add that to my motion, if you would.
Add what to your
The
motion?
Wi-Fi portion of that.
And the electrical or not the electrical?
I think we can get by with some extension cords.
Evidently, we have,
I got one here.
I'm good. Yeah, we're good. I don't know about you guys.
You guys are so sweet down there.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I was going to say that there is some electrical at the dais, and that's what we had been using for the Skype meetings and those laptops. Our intention was to increase it so that each area where an iPad could be would have a power cable connected to a separate outlet. So
I think that
that's
can go
what
to
the
the,
electrical cost would be for.
I would refer that to the TAC too.
All right. Councilor Clay, do you accept the,
Sure.
amendment? Councilor Lehman.
Does this software, is it gonna be used on individual personal laptops and the city website, or?
It can be used on any device that has an internet connection. I mean, what you see as a council member is available to the public for them to view as well. I'll be able to pull it up on my desktop computer, at my home computer, as would any member of the public, that regardless of, somebody in Germany could come to our website and open it and
So it
read
doesn't have
the-
to be downloaded to individual?
No, it does not have to be downloaded. It can be downloaded. So if you're on a Wi-Fi device and you anticipate leaving that area and going to another area where you don't have Wi-Fi, then you would want to use the opportunity while you were somewhere with Wi-Fi to download it to your device, and then you could open it up anytime in the future, just locally off of your device if
Well,
you
that's the
wanted to.
document, not the software, right?
There is no software for viewing and reading and consuming the packet.
It's all
The
just like a
software
website.
to use to create an agenda item,
Okay.
you need to be on a city computer if we host locally.
When you download it, are the links still live?
No, when you download it, you get a PDF packet.
I know, but within that PDF, are the links within the PDF still live?
No.
No?
You're scrolling through a document. You can create thumbnails on the, I believe the Ramsey City Council is meeting this evening, as are we, and their agenda for tonight is fairly short. So they would say download the PDF packet. It's going to think about it for a moment.
You can only download it if you got Wi-Fi handy?
Yeah, that's the problem.
Right, I am on the the existing Wi-Fi we have in this room, which holds 5 individuals at any one time. So now I have it downloaded as a PDF, and I just have a big long document with page
Okay.
after page after page. I no longer have those buttons that allow me to go next, previous, return. When you download it, it becomes a PDF. There are different ways to display this, which I am not a master of.
That's fine. I was just asking if they stayed live or not.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I've been asked to restate the motion.
Okay.
My motion was to move to approve funds from the general fund for the paperless packet management software, the first-year investment licensing and setup, and also the City Hall Wi-Fi connection for $3,000. The paperless packet management software was $18,450.
Councilor Clay?
No, I don't like it. Oh, sorry. Okay, fine. Is that correct?
All right, continued discussion. Any others, Councilor Sherman?
I'm just not a fan of spending money when it's not completely urgent and we're not budgeted for it. So that's my feeling on where we're at. I feel like if this is a priority and we want to put it in the 2013 budget, then that's what we should do. Or identify specific, send staff off to identify the specific buckets where there's money available, where we're underspent, or I just don't want to take money out of the general fund just to do this. It doesn't seem.
If I could add a comment to that, it does go to our goals of, improving the communication and things like that with the community and with staff, and I think that would go towards that.
Councilor Lehman?
I agree with Counselor Sherman. Hey, I got it right. Check that out. Yeah, nowhere in our goal-setting session did we make a goal of spend as much as possible. So I'm not in favor of this either. Unless we cut something else to pay for it.
It's just a few months to 2013 if we think it's a priority for that budget.
Make a very good point. All right, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Fails 2 to 3. Did I say that correctly?
Correct.
All right. Motion, Councilor Lehman?
Make a motion to direct the staff to see if they can come up with a cost-cutting measure of the proposed budget to fund this, if it's a priority.
Dies for lack of a second.
I would second that actually.
Okay. I was just
Yeah.
thinking about it.
You were digesting.
Yeah, I was trying to understand what that actually meant, because it didn't really mean much.
I mean,
There's no direction there.
we've got a proposed budget that we went through just the other night. This line item cost is roughly $50,000. So something in that existing budget has to be removed for $50,000, and this needs to be slid in.
So you're basically saying bring it.
For hardware and software, just clarification, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
The motion was for hardware and software, approximately $45,000 to come from the 2013 budget.
Yep. If you want it in a 2013 budget, you're gonna have to find something in there currently that costs the same and remove it and slide this in.
So you're basically saying put it in with the final budget discussion.
Nope, I'm saying take the current preliminary budget that we have, remove something that costs as much as this, and put this in its place.
I understand what
It's
you're
kinda like
saying.
doing it at home, you go to the
No, no,
store and you got $5 and you want that and it's $5 and that's $5, you pick one.
I understand what you're saying, but we can't just say, do that. There's no direction there for them to actually do anything. What do you want staff to do with that? I mean, they can't
I don't
say.
think it's up to staff. He's saying it's up to us on the next agenda item if we ever get to it.
Yep.
If. Okay. All right, so Chris, did you have something you wanted to say there?
Just, staff brought forward a list of potential cuts last week, of which the a majority of the council was not interested in enacting. So this is brought forward tonight because we were under the impression that council wanted to know what it would take to do paperless packets. I don't think that staff would prioritize doing this over additional cuts off of that list. I don't think you'll see staff come back with that recommendation if you're looking for it to be staff's recommendation. If this is a priority for the council, we feel like we've done our research to show you what it would take to do this, and if you're telling us it's not a priority, I've got plenty of other things to do and I will move on, to those. But we've already given you our list of cuts and you didn't like the vast majority of those, and nothing has changed in the last week. Staff doesn't have a great new list of fresh ideas to save money off of.
And we appreciate the list. Councilor Whiting.
I'll just take a copy of that
Councilor Lehman.
list of cuts then I'll have something that we can go down the list with
I'd
and
like
say,
to
how about
move-
this one? No,
Councilor Whiting.
that one.
I'd like to make a motion to.
We already
move
have
the-
a motion on the floor.
No, we don't.
It was seconded by Councilor Sherman.
Oh, it was, okay.
Yes. We were in discussion mode, sorry.
Okay.
Any other discussion on the motion? Could you please restate the motion?
I'll just withdraw my motion then.
That's fine.
Okay, motion is withdrawn. Councilor Whiting.
I'd like to make a motion to direct staff to move this to the acquisition of hardware and software to the TAC for further discussion.
Yeah, sure, fine. Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Passes 3-2.
You don't want them to talk about it?
You don't have the money.
All right, item number 10G2, 2012-2013 proposed tax levy, resolution number 7227, and proposed 2013 general fund budget. Ms. Linehan.
Good evening. Okay, let's see how we get this going. Okay, where's it at? Bruce? Which is the mechanism to bring this up? Nope, I just want to put my screen up.
Document camera.
Which one? Instead of hitting document camera. Okay. All right. Council members and mayor, before you tonight is the action that you have been working on for the past several months. This is to approve the property tax levy resolution in the preliminary general fund and EDA budgets. This follows several meetings, several work sessions, several discussions, additions of initiatives, deletions of initiatives. In summary, what was directed by the City Council at the August 28th City Council work session was to bring forward a levy that included the following new initiatives as discussed in detail at the last work session, which in turn results in a levy of an increase of 4.5% of $15,379,723. The other item that would increase the levy is the increase to the fire station referendum levy. That increases from $120,000 to $150,000. As I said, this is a result of the multiple discussions from different departments, the initiatives, a lot of discussion relating to the capital. We're talking transfers here that were significant to the tune of $500,000 for the capital projects. We're talking transfers related to the EDA in some total of $300,000, including the facade loan program, the EDA operations, and the newly created economic development position, and then a one transfer to the 2006A debt service fund for $60,000. So before you tonight is a request to move on the property tax levy increase as discussed with council at the last work session, and per the direction of council, this is the levy amount that is brought forward for preliminary approval. As we discussed, this is going to be brought back to you in final format in December. At that point, that is going to be the final levy. What we're bringing forward tonight is a preliminary levy that's certified to Scott County, and those amounts will appear on the parcel-specific notices sent out by Scott County in November of 2012. Are there any questions of the council?
Councilor Whiting.
Under property tax levy, it mentions the fire station referendum levy, 2011, 2012, 120.
Right.
Then we move that up to 30,000 to 150.
Right.
Then down below, under new initiatives, it adds another 30,000 here.
That's included in there.
That's the same.
That is the 30,000.
Because then on the back for transfers, you got 60,000.
Hang on, let me check and see.
It's for a different bond, that's a 2006
Oh,
bond.
that's the 2006A. That's
Okay,
a
I
different
thought
bond.
that was the same.
Yeah, at this point, your levy only
Was it
includes
4B?
coverage for the fire department
Okay.
referendum and a small amount for the 2006A.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. That's the second action you'll take tonight, is debt cancellation.
All right, any other questions? Councilor Lehman?
It's ironic that the levy increase is the same amount as personal incomes as have fallen.
Any other questions? All right, I'll entertain Motion? Council Clay.
Offer resolution 7227, setting the proposed maximum 2012 property tax levy collectible in 2013.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Councilor Whiting. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Passes 3-2. 10G3, canceling debt service levy for 2012-2013, resolution number 7228.
Right, and this is follow-up. We've had several discussions this
Oh,
year.
I have to say the thing yet.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. The mayor has a statement that has to be made because we don't send out.
Truth and taxation statement. Requirement for the truth and taxation public hearings has been replaced with the public notification of the December 4th, 2012 meeting. So in essence, from the state, truth and taxation, what formerly was truth and taxation hearings will be a public meeting on the December 4th, 2012.
Correct.
Correct?
Because previously, historically, the city had to send out a notice and a publication that stated each meeting. Those have been now cleaned up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a
10G3.
I have a question concerning
Councilor
that.
Lehman.
Does the, what is that you do at the county assessor? Do they still send out their, little things based on value, property value and estimated taxes?
No, that's what's been canceled.
Yeah, but you will get a parcel-specific notice that based on every city's and counties and school districts' preliminary levy, those will go out to property owners in November, but they're estimates only, because
Okay.
they're based only on your preliminary levies.
So I guess what I'm asking is.
So then I misunderstood. The answer to your question is yes.
Okay.
The same letter goes out.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Otherwise, nobody would know what their taxes are projected to be.
Correct. That'd be
So-
very difficult, because the other piece of this is, again, the market value.
Okay, so will people have any idea what their projected taxation will be?
Yes, they will.
Okay.
Okay? Okay. Next?
10G3.
Next item on the agenda is a resolution number, okay, I have to put the glasses on, 7228, which is the resolution canceling debt service levies, which are levied in 2012, collected in 13, and these include all the current levies that the city has historically issued, but are not paid for out of a specific debt levy, realizing that each of these levies would add to your total levy amount. Historically, you have not brought these forward. These are items we will continue to discuss in future budget years as you are, and I think Councilmember Whiting said it very clearly, this is not sustainable. At some point, you will have to address property tax levies specific to debt.
Questions? All right. Councilor Lehman?
Offer resolution 7228, canceling debt service levy for 2012 and 2013.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Clay. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Passes 4-1.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 11, Councilmember reports. Councilor Whiting.
Nothing to report.
Councilor Clay.
Oh, I was at the SPUC meeting tonight, Utilities Commission. Let's see. All the fire hydrant flushing was completed in the southwest quadrant. I'm sure that's great news for everybody. 10 hydrants were found to be needing of repair, which was taken care of. Water pumpage in August is down slightly, but still at 9.6 million gallons per day. Valley Creek Crossing, we did final plat or preliminary plat, final plat on that a few weeks back. Utilities Commission did find and set the trunk water charge and pipe oversizing charges, and they have there's a booster station in the first edition of Valley Creek Crossing that's going to be supplying enough pressure to serve the homes and supply enough pressure for water suppression activity should it ever be needed for this second edition. But there's going to need to be some significant investment in water storage facilities and elevated tanks as well in the upcoming few years if we're going to continue developing on that higher elevation. Just to keep you all posted on that. I think that's enough for tonight.
Councilor Lehman.
I'm late for supper, no report.
Councilor Sherman, sorry.
I have no report.
I haven't done that for a while.
That's fine.
A couple things from me. On the 28th of August, attended the Eagle Creek Transit Station grand opening. Was very nice, and a lot of people were there. It was very good. And then the 29th, Mr. McNeil, myself, Councilor Whiting, and Angie from Chamber of Commerce attended Chairman Crooks' funeral. And that's all I've got. Item number 12, any other business? Seeing none. Item number 13, adjourn to Tuesday, September 18th, 2012 at 7 p.m.
Moved.
Councilor Clay, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Sherman. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. We are adjourned at 10:20.